they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen AmadayAShakur show. I'm your host, Queen AmadayAShakur, and this is your Sunday morning or your Sunday vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right. So let's get into it. Now, who is in here? All right, Bookhorse DC, Chris B, Nice M10K is here, Claudette, Bits I Am from the UK. All right, let's get into it. Hit the like button. Okay. Deronda. All right, let's get into it. Vince said, buy all wigs, screw to popo and wiggetry nonsense. I know that's right, beloved. All right, we got DJ Big Six, Bronze Flat Power God. All right, let's get into it. Okay, shout out to all of my loyal royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Bookhorse DC says, it's the war. It's on now. Yeah, it absolutely is, beloved. Okay, it absolutely is. And thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Hey, Deronda, we the people. All right, Desmond. Okay, so let's get this party started. Let's get this party started. Mally C, beloved, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Peacefully Living has entered the chat. Okay, so now let's talk about it, you all, because here's the thing. This war has drastically escalated. Okay, it has drastically escalated. And the thing is, Trump's alleged war plan, if you ask me, was basically he thought he was going to run up in there or send them up in Iran and kill the Ayatollah, and then thinking that's just going to cripple the entire regime. And then he's going to help them decide who's going to be next in line to be running things, someone of his own choosing. He thought they were going to have this all done and wrapped up, sealed with a bow, and delivered in 4 to 5 days. And then he thought he'd head on over to target Cuba next. Okay, which is what he's been talking about. Now, he thought this was going to be a good idea, even though intelligence warned him against it, telling him that basically, if you kill the supreme leader, that's not going to stop the Iranians. Instead, it's likely going to radicalize them and then activate proxy networks and then make them want to retaliate even further. Okay, but that's what Trump did because he's an idiot who thinks he's the smartest one in the room. Okay? That's what he thinks. Now, mind you, in the past few days, okay, in a week since this all started, the U.S. has wasted $4 billion. All of this technology gone up in smoke in a week. Okay? And I want you all to pay attention because this is the type of technology, the best radar and sensor technology that has ever been deployed by the United States. And it's already been confirmed that it's been destroyed through satellite imagery. Okay? The satellite imagery does not lie. And not to mention Qatar, Jordan, CNN, the New York Times have all come out and confirmed it. Okay? So please pay attention. And so anyway, with that all being said, let's get into what's going on now. So let me just say this. Okay, it was very strategic for how Iran carried this whole thing out because what they didn't attack the soldiers first. Okay, that's what they didn't do. They instead attacked the technology that gives them the eyes to see what's coming and where it's going to hit or target. Okay, that's what they did. And so with these sensors and radars going, that's going to drastically affect them. Not to mention Russia has given them a new powerful weapon known as the 9K333 Verba. Okay, so this is supposed to be used to hit low-hanging fruit, is what I'll say. Basically, the low-flying drones and missiles. Okay, to cripple those. Now, that all being said, let's get into it. And by the way, you might want to know that Putin has supposedly refused to sell oil to the United States. And I find that all interesting because I thought that Trump and Putin were in a whole bromance. Okay, hasn't he been doing things at the behest of Putin, but now Putin doesn't even want to sell him oil? Okay, I want you all to think about that for just a moment. Another thing is, remember when it came out the other day by CNN, and I told you all I'd heard about it ever since last Saturday, when they were talking about how Russian intelligence, Russia had been given intelligence to Iran. Well, that's interesting because who do you think they were getting their information from? I guarantee you that Putin was getting some of that information from Trump. How much do y'all want to bet? Okay, I'm pretty sure Trump is guilty of treason, allegedly. All right? Y'all don't think, Malice said it's a one-sided love, Queen. Okay, clearly. But y'all don't think that maybe some of that intel that Putin had not only came from his own intelligence services, but likely from Trump running his big mouth? Because we all know he can't shut up. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, oh, you know what? I did not send out my emails to let everybody know that I was live. I'll send that in a minute as soon as I start this video. But nonetheless, we're going to get into it because also, I want you all to see how Trump was so disrespectful as they carried on, as they transferred the 6 soldiers who lost their lives. Okay, please pay attention. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, before we get started, I'm sorry. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. All I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she also sells beard oil. Okay, now with that all being said, likes up, everyone, please like and share. First, I'm going to go to this report from Times of India, where they say Israelis back Iran and they revolt against Bibi. I want y'all to pay attention. And we also have people in America, okay, people in the U.S. who also seem to be back in Iran because they think that this is all just so foolish that Trump started this whole thing and it's to the detriment of everyone involved. Okay, thanks to him and Bibi.
We all know that Israel and the United States launched this aggression against Iran with no real reason. They tried to pretend as if it was for the Iranian people who are indeed under a terrible oppressive regime, or it is because, like they call it, preemptive war, which is to prevent an attack against Israel. That's a sheer lie, because this war doesn't serve any people, neither the Iranian, nor the Israeli, nor any other people. It's just in the interest of those in power against the peoples. This is a demonstration against war, against occupation, against war crimes. It is for the peoples, including the Israeli people. So don't go astray after those who try to manipulate and incite against us as if we were against Israel and Israeli people. We are not. We are for the peoples against the governments.
Anger is surging against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at home amid the ongoing war with Iran, erupting into intense protests in central Tel Aviv. Demonstrators gathered at Habima Square, decrying Netanyahu's decision to continue military aggression and vowing to oppose any deeper involvement in the conflict. A member of the Knesset for the Jewish Arab Hadash Party, Ofer Kassif, said that the war was launched for no real reason, and it reflects imperialist intentions of Trump administration and the personal and political messianic, insane intentions and interests of Netanyahu and his gang. Meanwhile, the war on Iran also revealed Israel's deeply divided public opinion. A minor clash broke out as pro-war supporters also joined the anti-war protest. Protesters from opposing camps shouted slogans, waved banners, and confronted each other in the heart of the city. Pro-war supporters defended the Israeli government's actions and called the strikes necessary for Israel's security. As tensions escalated, security forces moved in to separate the rival.
Okay, they had to move in to prevent the confrontation from spiraling out of control, supposedly. Now, let's go to the ceremony for the service members who lost their lives and see how stupid and disrespectful your president is because he wouldn't even remove his darn cap. Okay, why would he go there wearing a baseball cap? Such an idiot. Okay, the man who would not join the military himself. Okay, Lyon said that he had bone spurs. Okay, let's get into it.
These are the 6 American soldiers who were killed in the opening hours of this war in Iran. They were killed when a drone attacked the facility where they were working in Kuwait. You saw the images of the president there honoring the fallen. He was standing next to First Lady Melania Trump as well as Vice President J.D. Vance. And we are learning a little bit more about the 6 fallen American service members. Among them is 20-year-old Sergeant Declan Cody, the youngest of the group. Also killed 39-year-old Sergeant First Class Nicola Moore, a mother of 2 just days away from returning to her family. And 42-year-old Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, a father to a teenage son with just 3 months left in his tour. Captain Cody Cork's family says that the 35-year-old, quote, lived with purpose, loved deeply, and served honorably. The Pentagon also confirming the deaths of 45-year-old Major Jeffrey O'Brien of Iowa and 54-year-old Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marzin. The Pentagon also saying that at least 10 American service members have been severely wounded since the start of this war with Iran. That's right, Ike. These are
prayers and condolences to their families, friends, and loved ones, and their colleagues. All right, and may they rest in peace. Thanks a lot, Trump. Okay, and that one man was just months away from his duty being ended. That is so sad. Okay, let's continue because Trump's just a liar who lies. You all know that they asked that idiot about them killing those girls in that school, the 165 people who were killed during that blast, and the 160 of them children, and he blamed it on Iran. How ignorant is he? He doesn't know that by now we all know that that was the U.S. that did it, and they did it on purpose, if you ask me, because either they just are too stupid and incompetent to know what targets they're about to strike, or they did it on purpose. Okay, please pay attention. Then they want to sit there and say that Iran is the only ones attacking civilians. That's a lie, okay, from the pits of hell. Let's continue.
Donald Trump just got done attending the dignified transfer, and reporters start asking him questions about this conflict, this war with Iran. And trust me, he clearly has no idea what he's doing. So when a reporter asked him if he's going to do more of these dignified transfers, he says pretty much because it's a part of war.
For more of these such dignified transfers.
Sure, I hate to do it, but it's a part of war, isn't it? Who are you with?
The Washington Post.
When you say it's part of war?
The deaths are part of war, yeah.
It's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
Mr. President.
And then a reporter asked him, "Are you worried about the gas prices?" And he says, "Nope, because we're on a short excursion."
Right now, are you worried about gas prices right now?
No, this is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years. 47 years it's taken to do this, and no president had the guts to do it.
Don't you all just love how this fool is always patting himself on the back? Talking about no other president had the guts to do it. I mean, why doesn't he just wait for people to praise him instead of praising himself? Oh, that's right, because no one with sense would ever praise him besides the MAGA minions. Let's continue.
And then he's asked about the United States bombing that school full of little girls that we all know the United States did. And he says, nope. According to his opinion and what he has seen, the United States hasn't done that.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hickson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an
Because
idea?
they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
They have no accuracy whatsoever, but yet they've destroyed the military bases. Okay, they've destroyed the military bases that they've spent billions of dollars on over the last 30 years. But they're not accurate. And but mind you, who was the ones shooting at decoys painted on the ground? Trump. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Can you give us an idea?
Now, this part gets very interesting. They asked him what unconditional surrender looks like, and he says, when they cry uncle.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle.
until they cry uncle. Do y'all hear this? Okay, what grade is he in? Third? I don't remember playing that since I was 8 years old. Cry uncle. So hilarious. And look at that idiot Pete Hegseth in the background, nodding his head in agreement. Such a butt kisser. Okay, please make it all make sense. Trisha said he sounds like an idiot. That's because he is, beloved. He absolutely is an idiot.
That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Now, a little after this, he actually says Iran did apologize, and in a way, he considers them to have surrendered.
At some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated. And when you look also, they all of a sudden they apologized to the Middle Eastern states that they shot at them. I was very surprised to see they did that, but you mark that down as a victory for us and for the Middle Eastern states who are really.
How in the hell is that a victory for the U.S. because they apologize to their neighbors? Okay, but at the same time, here's the thing, pay attention. Yeah, they did apologize to them, but they basically told them, we didn't want to hit you, but you better not keep supplying to the U.S. Okay? Or not supplying, but you better not keep allowing them, to be on your soil or whatever. So Trump is just an idiot. Now, how is that a surrender to the U.S.? Make it all make sense.
Friends of ours, but I guess they're not going to be shooting at them anymore. They apologized, and we'll see what happens. But that's a big loss. That's a surrender right there. I called it a surrender today. When they apologized and said they're not shooting at them anymore, that's really a surrender to those states and to us. Okay, anything else?
Now I'm going to wrap this video up with Donald Trump being asked, will the map of Iran look the same when this is all said and done? Listen to his response.
Do you think the map of Iran will look the same?
The war is complicated enough without getting the Kurds involved.
And do you think the map of Iran looks the same after this is all done?
That I can't tell you. Probably not.
Do you know if any shipping companies have taken?
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. More evidence that this guy right here is the most dangerous person in the world. He has no clue what he's doing. And if you didn't notice it, his entire cabinet looks totally scared. And that means, guess what? They're compromised along with Donald Trump.
Thousands of Americans in the Middle East.
Daily, I'm hearing from Americans who are stationed overseas. I'm hearing from friends who are in Qatar. I'm the co-chair of the Qatari caucus. They've been a big ally. They are deeply concerned. They can't afford the cost, the hotel costs, and extending their stay there. They can't get flights out. And so what we've heard from the State Department is that they could perhaps be willing to pay for some of those expenses. What that looks like, we'll see. But I'm deeply concerned. The lives of Americans abroad are at risk. And now, because of retaliatory threats, we could see attacks on our homeland by folks with terrorist organizations seeking to seize upon the moment, as it were, or sleeper cell operations as well.
Well, we had an attack in Austin at the weekend in a bar that's still being investigated.
Sure.
There was allegations that there were ties to Iran, Islamic extremism. We don't know yet. But I'm old enough to remember the Iraq War when the intelligence agencies told Bush and Blair that if you attack Iraq, you will only embolden al-Qaeda. It'll be a recruiting sergeant for jihadist groups throughout the Middle East. There'll be attacks on the US and UK. And that's exactly what happened.
Sure.
The UK suffered the 7/7 attacks in 2005. We saw the creation of ISIS as a direct result of the Iraq invasion. Are people talking enough in this town in Washington, D.C. about the long-term blowback from this war? I mean, they just killed Ali Khamenei, who, like him, love him, hate him, whatever your view of Ali Khamenei is, he's no normal leader. He's also a spiritual leader to a lot of people. His fanatical followers, I'm assuming, might want to take revenge. I mean, there's a lot that could go wrong in the coming months and years that no one's really talking about in the U.S. media or on the Hill.
You don't hear it in D.C., but I'm most concerned about Iranian Americans who obviously face retribution from the ignorant part of our communities. They made great contributions. I have childhood friends from that community. But even more so, I'm hearing from local folks. We have the largest single sporting day event in the entire world, the Indy 500. We got to get you there. I'm concerned about major sporting events that could be used in a symbolic attack to say, hey, we won't let this slide in this forever war. And so as someone who comes from Homeland Security, comes from law enforcement, comes from the city council, but sits on the intelligence committee, I lose sleep over a domestic attack every day.
Do you believe Donald Trump has endangered American lives at home?
Without question. He's endangered American lives since he took office, not only in 2016, but very recently, over a year ago. And so what he is doing is actually outside of the vision of the founding fathers who he purports to model himself after. They had a vision of three separate but very equal branches of government to act as a check on the other. What he's doing is presidential excess and overreach, and Congress has to keep him in check.
Now, we all know that clearly Congress has not been keeping this fool in check. Okay, that's what they have not been doing.
Conducting operations in Lebanon. The fighting in total has killed at least 1,200 people in Iran, more than 200 in Lebanon, and 11 in Israel, according to officials in those countries. Of course, 6 U.S. troops have also died in a drone attack. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Imtiaz Taib is in Doha with more. Imtiaz, bring us up to speed. Where do things stand today?
Well, Adriana, as you can imagine, the situation remains extremely tense all across the Gulf. I'm here in Doha. You can see this glittering skyline behind me. Now, this is the seafront, or the Corniche, and normally at this time of day at sunset, it would be packed full of families enjoying Ramadan, breaking their fast together. And as you can see, it's very quiet, and it really just underscores just how tense the situation is. Although we have been hearing from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian in that taped message apologizing to Gulf countries for carrying out strikes over the past week. We've seen hundreds of missiles, hundreds of drone strikes, also saying that he would not strike these countries anymore so long as any attacks emanating from this region wouldn't hit Iran. But again, the situation here remains extremely tense as Gulf countries brace themselves for more. Adriana.
So as you just mentioned, Imtiaz, Iran's president is now vowing not to strike its neighbors unless a strike originates from there. I was following this reporting and your emails with analysis this morning. Actually, I was reading Imtiaz, and you say this is signaling a new phase of the war.
Yeah, it is a potentially new phase of the war. It would seem that the Iranians are calibrating and recalibrating at the same time. On the one hand, they're in this very punishing war with the U.S. and Israel. What they don't want is a war with Arab countries, an Iran-Arab war. But still, we've heard just in the last few hours of strikes being, or rather Iranian strikes in Bahrain. We've also seen extraordinary image of an Iranian drone targeting Dubai's airport, one of the busiest airports in Dubai. And I just want to reflect again President Trump's Truth Social post this morning following that apology from the Iranian president. We have the president, or rather Mr. Trump, saying, and again, I'm quoting here, Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East and is instead, his words, the loser of the Middle East, saying that that will be the case for many decades until they surrender or collapse. And again, that warning from President Trump saying that Iran will be hit very hard today. Adriana.
Imtiaz, what could that look like? Do we have any sense of what we could be hitting or targeting, or what that fallout could look like on the ground?
I mean, the images coming out of Tehran are pretty extraordinary. You just see Tehran, a city of 10 million people, being punished in an extraordinary way. We understand that huge numbers of Iran's military, intelligence, and government leadership has been killed and targeted in these strikes by the U.S. And Israel, but still.
Tammy says, so Iran bombed their own children in school. Exactly. That's the lies that Trump wants us to believe, honey. He thinks we're all just so stupid. He thinks that the rest of us are equally as ignorant as his MAGA minion cult. That's what he thinks, beloved.
the regime remains standing. And frankly, Adriana, that is their ultimate goal here. They seem to be signaling that they're willing to withstand whatever's thrown their way, so long as they can keep their regime intact. Now, for President Trump, that seems to be a non-starter. He wants a number of concessions, including Iran, to say that it's not going to develop its nuclear program beyond minuscule amounts. He wants Iran to effectively suspend its ballistic missiles program. But I think most crucially is he wants to see a new Iranian leadership that is going to be sympathetic, or at the very least friendly, towards the United States, similar to what we saw happen in Venezuela. But it sounds like from the Iranian point of view, they're signaling that they are going to stand firm the way they are. But how long they can last under such an assault is frankly anybody's guess. Adriana.
And we're also thinking about all of the civilians in Iran who are there. A lot of people bracing for this ratcheting up.
Just a whole mess, okay? All thanks to Trump. Now, let me just say this. I don't know how Trump, first of all, he's just lying to himself and everyone else. Because how could he possibly think that because the president or Mossad Pezeshkian apologized to his neighbors, what does that have to do with them surrendering to the United States? Okay, so now listen. The apology came from Mossad Pezeshkian during a televised address. His statement was directed mainly at Gulf and Middle Eastern neighboring countries that were hit by Iranian missiles or drones during the current war. Now, one of the most widely reported lines from the speech was, he said, "I apologize in my name and on behalf of Iran to neighboring countries that Iran attacked." He then added that Iran does not intend to attack those countries again, saying the leadership had decided that no more attacks will be made on neighboring countries and no missiles will be fired unless an attack on Iran originates from those countries. Now, what he meant by that was, Iran says that many of the strikes hit U.S. bases located inside of the neighboring countries. Pezeshkian said the attacks were self-defense after the war escalated, but also acknowledged that they affected other states. He also rejected the United States' demands for surrender, calling that idea a dream that should take them to their graves. Okay, do y'all hear that? He rejected the call for surrender and said that idea is a dream that should take them to their graves. Doesn't it sound like somebody who wants to surrender? Trump is just a liar who lies. Now, the apology reportedly caused backlash inside Iran, where some political and military figures said the strikes were justified and shouldn't be apologized for. Iran also warned that any country allowing its territory to be used for attacks on Iran could still be targeted. Okay? So with that all being said, he apologized for hitting his neighboring countries, promised Iran would stop striking them, just to sum it all up, and then unless they attack Iran first, but insisted that they would continue fighting the U.S. and Israel and would not, I repeat, would not surrender. Okay? And now here's what a former CIA agent has to say about this whole thing.
Reason why this war with Iran feels so confusing. So let me cut right through it. My name's Adam. I used to be in the CIA, and we've been doing daily updates on the war. Today, I'll give you the facts from the last 24 hours, but then I'm going to give you the tools to understand strategically why this war is spinning out of control. So here's what you need to know. Last night, the Iranians hit Azerbaijan's international airport. More explosions reported in Abu Dhabi. The UAE continues to be the hardest hit in the region. There's footage claiming to show Iranian ballistic missiles over Jordan. Iran hit the primary oil refinery in Bahrain, which is still on fire, and a missile struck near a U.S. naval installation. A U.S. Navy sub sank an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. And finally, U.S. CENTCOM is requesting support for another 100 days of Iran operations. So that's what happened. Now here's why it matters. This is no longer a contained operation between Israel, the U.S., and Iran. This is now a regional conflict involving 17 countries, and those in charge of American strategic policy are fundamentally unequipped to handle it. They've also spent the last 15 months undermining our diplomatic readiness and our relationships with global allies, both of which are necessary to prosecute this kind of war. Consider, Trump fired dozens of senior career diplomats. Several strategic posts in the Middle East have been vacant for over a year. He fired more than 1,300 State Department employees, many of whom were Middle East and counterterrorism experts. They dismantled USAID, an agency that should be playing a critical role in navigating the conflict and post-conflict environments. Kash Patel also fired a dozen agents and staff from the FBI's counterintelligence unit specifically tasked with monitoring threats from Iran. I know firsthand that Iran has a very capable intel service that has networks and cells all over the world. We haven't even
See, I want you all to pay attention to this because Trump did all of this with his ignorant, stupid self. Okay. And I told you all, this is why I've been telling you for months that Trump is purposely dismantling the United States from the inside out. Okay. They see the United States, or people have seen the United States as the biggest and the greatest military power. Many people have seen the U.S. as that and seen the U.S. as dominance over other countries. But now what Trump is doing is he's trying to help another country be dominant over all the other countries. And we all know who that country is. Okay, please pay attention. Now, right now, Cecil Brown says, I thought only Congress can declare war. Has the Constitution changed? Why is the U.S. following the dictatorship of Israel? Well, that's a very good question. And if you ask me, I believe it is because first off, Trump wants to deflect, okay, and gaslight us about the Epstein files. He wants to take us away from that topic of discussion to distract, basically. But also, I do believe that Mr. Bibi Netanyahu has some recordings, video footage of him doing things nefarious, okay? Things that he was accused of in those files. That's just what I believe. That's also what Lumumba Amin has said for months, and I absolutely believe it, but not just of him, of other politicians in the West, okay, i.e. in the U.S. So with that all being said, that is likely one of the main reasons, if you ask me.
seen those networks activated yet, but terrorism, sabotage, assassination, it's all on the table. When we stack all of this together, a bigger picture emerges, a picture of incompetence, lack of planning, and an inability to understand, even intellectually, the scale of the crisis they've created. That's why this conflict is spinning out of control, and this is where our alliances will be critical. Right now, the European allies are hesitantly supporting us. The French sent fighter jets, the Dutch sent warships, even the Ukrainians, they're sending drone teams. All of this despite repeated disrespect from the Trump administration over the last year. Because even if our leaders don't understand it, our allies do. They recognize this moment is critical, and they are attempting to protect, stabilize, and de-escalate. On the other hand, Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, Noam, Patel, all of them, they failed in their duty to act in the best interest of the American people. In only 5 short days, they unilaterally committed us to a massive regional war. This dwarfs Iraq or Afghanistan in complexity and in scale. And when we look at who's in command, who's making decisions, and who's working with our allies, we see a team of Fox News hosts, podcasters, Nepo babies, billionaires, and Mar-a-Lago influencers. And in charge of all of them, at the head of the table, is a calloused and diminished president who spent more time with Jeffrey Epstein than he did planning for war with Iran.
Okay, no lies detected. Absolutely no lies detected. Now, with that all being said, Shoshana said, yep, they're being white-mailed. Exactly, beloved, and I love that. Okay, that's what we're going to call it from now on, white-mailed. Why does everything nefarious have to be referenced as being black? Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this post. President Pezeshkian's openness to de-escalation within our region, provided that our neighbors' airspace, territory, and waters are not used to attack the Iranian people, was almost immediately killed by President Trump's misinterpretation of our capabilities, and determination, and intent. If Mr. Trump seeks escalation, it is precisely what our powerful armed forces have long been prepared for, and what he will get. Do y'all hear this? Now, I do believe this is what their foreign minister said. I can't remember. But anywho, responsibility for any intensification of Iran's exercise of self-defense will lie squarely with the U.S. administration. Mr. Trump's week-long misadventure, not that they called it a misadventure, please pay attention. Okay, Mr. Trump's week-long misadventure has already cost the U.S. military $100 billion in addition to the lives of young soldiers. Okay, when markets reopen, that cost will balloon and directly be transferred to ordinary Americans at pumping stations. I want you all to pay attention because I'm about to buy me a bicycle, honey, because I don't have time for these enormous gas prices that everyone's going to have to pay thanks to this idiot. Okay? I'm going to get me a 10-speed, honey. I don't have time for this. Please pay attention. The Trump is a whole idiot. Now, with that all being said, Let's go to this next post. Your son said, my country stole from me. Okay. It's all nefarious. Nice M10K says, better get a bike or a scooter or something. Exactly. Okay, because we're not going to be able to afford gas. Are y'all talking crazy? Because they're talking about it's going to be $200 a barrel. How much you think it's going to cost us? Okay, so breaking, U.S. has lost half of its global THAAD radars. Okay, look at this. Yeah, those radars and sensors are just out. And like I said, that's like the eyes of their operation. This is what lets them know what missiles or drones or whatever is coming and where it's targeted to hit. The U.S. committed a blatant and desperate crime by attacking a freshwater desalination plants on Kashim Island. Water supply in 30 villages has been impacted. Attacking Iran's infrastructure is a dangerous move with grave consequences. The U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. Okay, absolutely. This is all on Trump. And let me just tell you something else, too. Iran has come out and said that they do believe that there's about to be a false flag from Bibi's crew. Okay, from Bibi's crew. He said he thinks there's going to be a false flag. They're gonna do something and then try to blame it on them. Okay. Let's go to Iran's foreign minister speaking. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go. Nice MK10 said Bibi is a Yahoo. Okay.
Welcome back. And joining me now is the Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. Mr. Foreign Minister, welcome to Meet the Press.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. I have to ask you the big question on everyone's mind. Who is in charge in Iran right now?
Well, it is already known. The council of the interim leadership council is now in charge, and they are doing their act in the absence of the leader, while a new supreme leader is going to be elected soon by the Assembly of Experts. And the president and the cabinet are also doing their duties. Parliament, everything is in its place.
Well, there are reports this morning that the Iranian Assembly of Experts has come to a decision on a new supreme leader for Iran. Many have suggested it would be the son of the late supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Will he be the next leader of Iran?
Well, nobody knows. Actually, there are lots of rumors around, but we have to wait for the Assembly of Experts to convene and vote for the new supreme leader and the one who is elected by them.
Do you think he should be the next leader of Iran?
Well, anybody which is elected by the Assembly of Experts would be the next supreme leader of Iran. And as you know, the members of the assembly are already, elected directly by the people.
All right. Well, President Trump says he should pick the new leader of Iran. Will Iran allow President Trump to have any role in picking its new leader?
We allow nobody to interfere in our domestic affairs. This is up to the Iranian people to elect their new leader. They have already elected the Assembly of Experts, and the Assembly of Experts would do the job. It is only the business of the Iranian people and nobody else's business.
President Trump says there will be no deal with Iran except for, quote, unconditional surrender. Will Iran agree to unconditional surrender for the sake of bringing this war to an end, Mr. Foreign Minister?
Well, this is what he asked previous time, last year in June, that when Israel started to attack us, President Trump used the same phrase, unconditional surrender. That was the tweet he made. And that didn't happen. We resisted, and after 12 days, Israelis asked for unconditional ceasefire. So we never give up, we never surrender, and we continue to resist as long as it takes. We continue to defend ourselves, and we are defending our territory, our people, and our dignity. And
I want you all to pay attention, okay? At the end of the day, they're just lying. Trump is a liar. He always tries to paint it as if the U.S. has won, okay? When they have not. Did the same thing with Yemen, okay? And the fact of the matter is they didn't lose. The U.S. lost, okay? They went home with their tail tucked between their legs, sadly, but it's true. Now, with that all being said, here's the thing. Trump's talking about he wants to help them choose their leader. What in the world makes him think they would allow him to do so? Okay, has he lost his mind? Because here's the thing. So, the U.S. back in 1953, they basically overthrew Iran's leader. Okay, now that event is widely documented and even acknowledged by the CIA, so it's just a fact. Okay, that was the 1953 coup is what they called it. So the U.S. and the United Kingdom carried out a covert operation. Now, I want you all to pay attention because this is why Trump sounds so ridiculous, trying to act as though he needs to have anything to do with whom they choose to lead them. Okay, so anyway, the U.S. and the United Kingdom carried out a covert operation called Operation Ajax to remove Iran's prime minister, who at the time was Mohammad Mossadegh. Now, Mossadegh had nationalized Iran's oil industry, which had been controlled largely by British companies. Okay, so Britain and the U.S. feared both losing oil interests. Okay, this was all about their own benefit and money. Okay, they were afraid they were going to lose oil interest and the possibility Iran might drift toward the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So the CIA and British intelligence organized protests and then spewed propaganda, as per usual, and support for military officers opposing Mossadegh. Now then, on August the 19th of 1953, the coup succeeded and Mossadegh was removed from power. Okay, now then afterwards, the monarchy under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was strengthened and ruled Iran for about 26 more years with strong U.S. support. See, the U.S. was fine with him. Okay, he was likely doing their bidding. But then the Shah was eventually overthrown in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which created the current Islamic Republic. Okay, this is why they have a whole Islamic Republic, because the United States interfered in the first place. Iran used to have a democracy. Then along comes the United States, and they're worried about oil and being greedy, because that's always what it's about when the United States starts a war. It's never about helping the people in the country, as they want to pretend, as if people are oppressed, and here we are to save the day. How the hell could that ever make sense when they oppress people in their own country, specifically people who look like me? Okay, so that is never the case. The real bottom line is they want the resources and they want to profit from these wars. That's exactly what they do. Okay, so the bottom line is Iran formerly or previously had a democracy. The United States helped to overthrow their leader and put in a dictator. Okay? So the fact that Trump thinks that he can just waltz in and he's supposed to have any type of input or say so into who's going to be their next leader is ridiculous. It just goes to show how ignorant he really is. So with that all being said, from the 1979 to present, U.S. opposition and sanctions against the Islamic Republic, there has been U.S. opposition and sanctions against the Islamic Republic after the revolution. Now then, let's not forget, Trump was behind this too, when in 2020, the U.S. killed Iranian leader or general Qasem Soleimani in a drone strike. Okay, but that was not a regime change operation. Various covert operations, sanctions, and cyber actions, but none officially acknowledged as another successful overthrow of Iran's leadership. Okay, so with the 1953 coup, that's a major reason for the distrust between Iran and the United States till this day. Okay, the U.S. brought this on themselves. All right, now many Iranians see this as proof of foreign interference in the country's politics. And that's the last thing they want. Okay, that's the last thing they want. So at the end of the day, Trump needs to sit down somewhere because it sounds obtuse. But let's continue.
Our dignity is not for sale.
Well, let me ask you, because what conditions would Iran accept to bring this war to an end?
Well, actually, we are not at that point yet. Obviously, this time is different from the previous time. Last time, we accepted the ceasefire. But, this time is quite different. And the reason is obvious. Last time they attacked us, they made aggression against us, they killed our people, they destroyed our places, and then asked for a ceasefire. And we accepted out of good faith because we were only exercising the act of self-defense. And when the aggression was stopped, we stopped too. But it didn't bring about peace. And now this year they again started to attack us. And again, they are killing our people. They are killing, girl students. They are attacking hospitals. Freshwater desalinations. Refineries. Everywhere, people have been killed. Places have been destroyed, and now they want to ask for a ceasefire again. Well, this doesn't work like this. So there should be a permanent end of the war. And unless we get to that, I think we need to, continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security.
We are going to get to the reports about some of the deaths in just a moment. But just to stay on this topic, would Iran ever agree to a ceasefire to get back to the negotiating table to end all of this military conflict?
Well, they have to explain why they started this aggression before we come to the point to even consider a ceasefire. Of course, nobody wants to continue this war. This is not our war. This is not the war of our choice. This is imposed on us by the United States, by Israelis. They have, started this war unprovoked, unwarranted, illegally. And what we are doing is legal act of self-defense, and we have every right to do that. So it is.
That's right. They have every right to do it. Okay. And here's the thing. Saturn Air Force says he's so nonchalant about it. Yeah, he absolutely is, because he's confident in their abilities to defeat them. And here's the thing. A C-Stand, by the way, C-Stand says blessings. Thank you, beloved. Blessings to you as well. And thank you for your kind words and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. The United States has a whole lot of nerve, or shall I say Trump has a whole lot of nerve at the end of the day. Okay, he started this unprovoked, and it's a good thing the foreign minister is coming out speaking about this, because otherwise the U.S. and Bibi would spew whatever kind of false narrative they want, and that's exactly what they've been doing. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm willing to bet $100 to a dime that they're absolutely lying about the number of soldiers killed, because on the U.S.'s side, now they're saying, and I want you all to pay attention, because here's the thing. Think about this, beloveds. Think about how Trump always projects whatever he's doing, he accuses someone else of doing it. Whatever he's going to, whatever he's lying about, or when he's saying something that someone else is doing, it's usually what he's doing. So now think about that, because days ago I reported to you that though the United States and the mainstream media was saying that there's only 6 soldiers deceased, I told you that international news outlets were saying that no, it was over 1,200. Then just the other day, they come out saying that there's 1,200 deceased, okay, of the Iranians on their side. and only 11 in Israel, and then 6 in the United States. Okay, I don't believe that. And conveniently, they're saying that Iran has lost 1,200, which is the same number that everybody's saying the U.S. has lost. So who do you think's lying? Also, Trump's covering his ass for that lie, in my opinion, when he says things like, oh, there's going to be much more casualties, there's going to be more people dying. Well, that's when he'll come out and then tell us a different number. But I don't think he's ever going to be honest about how many it is. But hold on, before we get back to this conversation with the foreign minister, let's talk about this weapon that Russia has supplied to Iran. Okay, they just agreed to give them, or have already given them, the 9K333 Verba, which is mainly for strategic military and political reasons. Okay, the transfer is part of a growing alliance between Russia and Iran. So here are the key reasons. Strengthening Iran's air defenses after recent strikes. Iran's air defense network was heavily damaged in earlier conflicts with Israel and operations involving the United States. So many radar systems and longer range missiles were destroyed. Now, the Verba is a portable air defense missile, okay, that can be used by small teams. This allows Iran to quickly rebuild low-altitude defense against drones, helicopters, low-flying jets, and cruise missiles. Okay, now this is deepening the Russia-Iran military alliance. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the two countries have become closer military partners. Okay, let's talk about some of the examples of their cooperation. We'll just mention a couple. Iran supplied Russia with drones and missiles to be used on Ukraine. Russia is now returning the favor with air defense systems and helicopters. So the Verba deal is partly a strategic trade between allies. And so this is also preparing Iran for possible future strikes or future U.S. and Israeli air attacks. Now, the Verba system is designed specifically to threaten the low-altitude aircraft, which are often used in airstrike operations. It can hit targets up to about 6 to 6.5 kilometers away, up to 4.5 kilometers altitude, with a multi-band infrared seeker that resists flares. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, it means helicopters, drones, close air support jets would face higher risk flying over Iran or its forces. Okay? Now, Russia gains money and geopolitical leverage from this deal itself because the deal is worth $500 million, and it includes 500 Verba launchers, 2,500 missiles, as well as night vision equipment. And by arming Iran, Russia earns money despite the sanctions that Trump is threatening to put on them. And it strengthens an anti-Western strategic bloc. It also increases pressure on the U.S. and its allies in the Middle East. Okay? So quite simply put, Russia gave Iran the Verba to help Iran rebuild air defenses, strengthen their alliance, counter U.S.-Israeli air power, and expand Russia's influence in the region. Period, point blank. All right, I want y'all to pay attention. It's all going down, and it's not looking good for the U.S. or BB.
It's not fair that if only stops the aggression and ask us to stop too. As I said, this time is different.
Let me ask you about some of what Iran has been doing. Iran has launched hundreds of missiles at 13 other nations in the region. On Saturday, the Iranian president apologized for those strikes on neighboring Gulf states. Was it a mistake for Iran to attack its neighbors?
Well, it is a mistake if you consider that Iran is attacking its neighbors. No, we are not attacking our neighbors. We are attacking American bases, American, installations, American assets, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors. So we are not attacking our neighbors. We are attacking Americans who are attacking us. We are retaliating. We have not started this war. It is Americans who started this war against us, attacking us, and we are defending ourselves. So it is obvious that our missiles cannot reach the U.S. Soil. What we can do is to attack American bases and American installations around us, which are unfortunately in the soils of our, neighborly countries.
Okay, she needs to sit down somewhere because she's trying to sit here and act as though they're doing something wrong. They have every right to defend themselves, and they need to stop trying to paint Iran as the aggressors when we all know that it was Trump and Bibi, the devil, who started this whole thing. Okay? Let's continue.
Mr. Foreign Minister, if you're not attacking your neighbors, why did the Iranian president apologize?
Well, first of all, apology in our culture is a sign of dignity and strength. Secondly, he apologized from the peoples of the region for the inconveniences they have faced because of this aggression by the United States and retaliation by us. So as a matter of fact, it is in fact the President of the United States who should apologize from the people of the region and Iranian people for the killings and destructions they have done against us.
Let me ask you, because NBC News is reporting that Iran is receiving help from Russia to help locate U.S. forces. Are you receiving any help from Russia?
If they are, what's the problem? Isn't Bibi receiving help from the United States? Okay, please pay attention.
Well, we have a strategic partnership with Russia.
So that's a yes?
And well, a military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and is still there and will continue in the future.
Is Russia helping you locate U.S. forces? I just want to be very clear here.
Well, I don't have exact military information. As far as I know, we have a very good partnership with Russia.
So they are helping you. They are providing intelligence.
Rich, the man just told you what it is. Why do you keep pressing, honey? He's not going to give you all their strategic secrets. Like, sit down somewhere. That's right. Your son said, mind your business. Okay? Queen W said the mainstream media is trash. Aren't they, though? Okay, Roddy said that's none of her white business. So that's none of her white business. Okay. C. Stan said she's ridiculous. Love Chrissy said, yes, dummy. All right. This is all so nefarious, honey. I absolutely cannot. Nice M10K says, see, this is why I tuned into the Queen for news, because I don't trust the mainstream media at all. Okay. Absolutely nefarious. Peacefully Living says, he said what he said. Y'all are going in. I love it. Okay, Fred Montgomery says she's asking stupid questions. Cheryl Douglas said, why are we over there? Okay. Hold on, let me read one more. Roddy says, this oval-faced reporter. I am so done. Let's continue.
Well, they are helping us in many different directions. I don't have any detailed information.
Okay, let's move to the strike on the elementary school in southern Iran.
Yeah, I want to hear this because, lady, please don't try to blame it on them. Nessa G said he should ask, is the U.S. helping? It's not real. Okay, please. Thank you, Buckhurst DC, for your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
It killed more than 170 people, including many children. President Trump said Iran is responsible for that strike. What is your response to what the president said?
Well, it is funny. It is our school. These are our students, our girls, and they are attacked by an American fighter, a jet fighter, and they have been killed. Why Iran is responsible? Have we started this war? Have we attacked our own people? No, we were negotiating with the United States. And in the middle of negotiations, in the middle of diplomacy, they decided to attack us. And they have attacked so many places, including schools and hospitals. And there are all evidences that this school is attacked by an American, jet fighter.
Okay, absolutely. Now, I want you all to pay attention because Trump just sat there and lied through his lips, okay? He said that Iran they're the only ones attacking civilians, but no. Pete Hegseth and Trump are so angered that they're losing pitifully that this is what they've allegedly been doing, according to reports around the world. They've been attacking the citizens, the schools, the hospitals, the fire trucks, the ambulances. Okay? This is what they've been doing. All right? So please pay attention.
Where is the Iranian evidence that this was a U.S. attack, a jet fighter, as you say?
Yikes, where's the U.S. proof, okay, that it was the Iranians that attacked their own damn school? You see how she's sitting there trying to ask him, okay, she's sitting there trying to ask him for proof. Where is the U.S.'s proof when we all know and everybody around the globe knows that Trump's nothing but a dirty, trash, arse liar who lies? Talking about some evidence. Go ask Trump where his damn evidence is, yikes. Well, let's continue.
Will you provide
If it was not you, if it was not US, then who was that? Maybe Israelis. But it is obvious who else is attacking us.
Well, let me move on to this question about potential ground troops. You said earlier this week on U.S. ground troops to my colleague Tom Yamas, quote, "We are waiting for them." But President Trump says the condition for sending troops to Iran would be that Iran, quote, "would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level." Is the president right? Would you not be able to fight at the ground level, Mr. Foreign Minister?
Well, at least this is not the case right now. For the time being, we are capable enough. We have very brave soldiers who are waiting for any enemy who enter into our soil to fight with them and to kill them and destroy them. So, and that would be the case in the coming days and the coming years, and always in our in Iran. We are brave people. We have a great civilization. We have defended our land for thousands of years, and we continue to do that as much as it takes.
Honey, she is just trying to drill him, honey. But my thing is, why doesn't she get Trump's arse on there, him and Pete Hegseth, and grill them? Okay, and just let me say this. Here's the thing. It is very dangerous, okay? A ground level attack, all right, or any sort of ground invasion of Iran would be very dangerous for the United States, okay? Let's just keep it real. I already told you all how mountainous the terrain is there and how huge, okay, the area is. It's like literally from Atlanta all the way to New York. Now, I want you to think about that and factor in mountainous terrain that is very difficult to maneuver your way through, even if you vaguely know the land. But what if you've never been there and you don't know it at all, like some of these soldiers? Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, this is not a good idea at all by any stretch of anyone's imagination, even stupid Trump's. Okay, now, but mind you, military analysts have often said it would be one of the hardest wars the U.S. could even fight. Okay, and let me just tell you a few reasons why. Because Iran is naturally defensive. That's for number one. And they don't give up. And like that man said, they're very brave people and they're not going to surrender. That's their whole motto. Never surrender. They will fight you to the death. Okay. They have large mountain ranges that protect much of the country. The country is very large, like I told you, probably 4 times the size of Iraq. That's a better assumption. Okay. Or better estimate. Okay. Now, the key cities like Tehran are deep inside of the country. So the terrain makes it very difficult for tanks and supply convoys to even move. And military experts say that occupying Iran would likely require hundreds of thousands of troops and years of fighting. Okay, please pay attention. Is Trump trying to start a forever war with his ignorant self? And also, Iran built its military specifically to fight invasions. This is why he said we've been waiting for this, because they've long been prepared for it. Since the Iran-Iraq war in the 1980s, okay? Iran designed its military doctrine around defending against stronger armies. Okay, they don't just practice to do battle and to engage and to defend themselves. They have literally been practicing. Their whole doctrine is based on the premise of defending against stronger, more deadly rivals. So this includes things like underground bases and missile launch sites, large numbers of militia fighters, guerrilla warfare tactics, okay? Anti-tank weapons and drones. All right, so please, the idea is to slow down an invading army and inflict heavy casualties. That's their whole thing. That's their strategy. Not to mention air defenses and weapons like the Verba that Russia just gave them. Okay, it's more dangerous for the helicopters and low-flying aircraft, like I told you. Right? So how are they going to get down? How's the U.S. going to even counter this? I promise you they're not ready for it. They're already low on munitions and interceptors. Right? None of this is good. And then here's the thing. They could attack U.S. bases and supply lines, okay? They've already attacked their bases. Iran has ballistic missiles and drones, okay? They have missiles and drones to hit the bases in the Persian Gulf, the supply ships, logistics hubs in nearby countries. And in fact, during the Operation Martyr Soleimani missile strike in 2020, Iran hit a U.S. base in Iraq and wounded over 100 American personnel. But they want us to think only 6 people have died in this war so far, after all this money that they've lost, you know, in the past week, and the fact that Bibi's people were hitting decoys and just wasting military dollars. Okay, this basically shows that Iran can reach U.S. forces even outside of its borders. Okay, please pay attention. They have a large population and military. Iran has 80 plus million people, meaning that large reserve forces are there, potential militias, and long insurgency if the country were to be occupied. Okay, and experts warn that a full invasion could be bigger than the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Okay, think about that. So here's the thing, in a nutshell, the bottom line is ground combat in Iran would be very dangerous, okay, because of the terrain favoring the defenders. The Iran prepared for the fact that they prepared for the invasion for decades, like I told you all days ago. The portable missiles like the Verba threaten the aircraft. U.S. supply lines and bases could be attacked, in which they've already attacked the bases and completely demolished them like never before. Okay, and the country is huge and difficult to occupy. So this is not good. And this is why, mind you, many U.S. generals have said that invading Iran could be far harder than the Iraq war. But hey, Trump thinks he knows best. So let's let him cook, because he's going to get our soldiers cooked. Please pay attention.
Let me ask you, because you have said that this was a war of choice. President Trump said one of the reasons for launching this war was that Iran, quote, already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases and would soon have missiles capable of reaching America. Was Iran planning to directly attack the United States?
Well, this is not true. This is, in fact, misinformation. We have capability to produce missiles, but we have intentionally limited ourselves to below 2,000 kilometers of range because we don't want to be felt as a threat by anybody else in the world. We have not started any plan to increase the range of our missiles more than what it is right now. So there is no evidence, there is no intelligence, nothing to indicate that Iran is going to long-range missiles, let alone those missiles who can reach the United States soil.
All right. And of course, U.S. officials say that negotiations over this came to a halt, and that is part of why they moved forward with this action. Minister Araghchi, thank you very much. We will obviously be tracking everything that unfolds very closely. We appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
She was trying to get all the information that she could muster, honey, okay? I mean, she was doing her hardest. But anyway, let's go to the next clip. Buckhurst, D.C., beloved, we know that you don't have any beef with Iran. You don't have to keep telling us, okay? I'll make sure that if they come over here, they don't bother you. I'll be sure to let them know that you don't want any of the smoke, all right? Let's continue.
Children.
No, in my opinion.
A somber journey home for 6 Americans. Trump notably doubted.
That was done by Iran.
Defense Secretary Hegseth said the Pentagon is still investigating on Russia aiding Iran with intelligence to help target U.S. forces. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said he has warned the Kremlin, but President Trump notably doubted that Russia has helped Iran.
I have had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job because Iran is not doing too well.
Mr. Trump said he did not want to publicly discuss sending U.S. ground forces, but if he did, Americans would face a weakened Iranian military.
And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
At home, the war is already fueling higher gas prices. The president said the U.S. will add to its strategic petroleum reserve, but he downplayed higher consumer costs for now.
We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth.
The president was asked if he is worried about gas prices, and he said no. And he said this is just a short excursion in dealing with Iran after many decades of trouble there. He also said he'll follow his gut instinct about when to refill the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And that, of course, is a hedge against an unstable global oil market. Willie?
Kelly O'Donnell with the president. Kelly, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC.
Okay, Trump's just out here on a fool's mission. All right, please pay attention. Just out here on a whole fool's mission. Now let's go to this next clip. Like up, everyone, please like and share because they say that Israel is in the dark.
Israel reportedly experienced a nationwide power outage after the country's largest electrical substation was targeted in an attack believed to have originated from Iran. The disruptions occurred almost simultaneously in several key areas, causing the national power grid to collapse quickly and triggering blackouts in several major cities. Regional security sources stated that the attack had targeted strategic energy infrastructure that serves as the center of electricity distribution to most of Israel. The targeted substation is known to act as a key node in the national electricity transmission system. When this facility is down, the effects immediately spread to other distribution networks and caused a chain of blackouts in various regions. Within minutes of the attack, much of the national electricity system reportedly ceased operation. Major cities such as Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa experienced a complete blackout. Streetlights, office buildings, military command centers, and even the electricity transportation network were reportedly affected. Initial reports indicated that the tech substation was a facility that connects the power grid from the main power plant to the national transmission line, Tyne, Ashine. When the facility was damaged, the grid's automatic protection system cut off power to prevent further damage. However, the effect of the system outage caused the entire national electricity grid to collapse quickly. Israeli security officials stated that the damage to the power plant was extremely severe. Several giant transformers, the core of the substation, were reportedly destroyed by the explosion. These transformers are typically very large and take a long time to replace because they cannot be manufactured quickly. As a result of the damage, Israel's national electricity grid operator faced difficulties in restoring normal power distribution. Without the main substations that serve as distribution centers, electricity from the power plant could not be consistently distributed to major cities. Energy industry sources estimated the economic impact of the incident to be substantial. The nationwide power outage forced most industrial activities, transportation systems, communications, services, and businesses to shut down. Initial estimates of losses from the disruption are estimated at approximately $300 trillion, including infrastructure damage, economic disruption, and the cost of restoring the energy system. The outage also directly impacted critical public facilities. Hospitals, data centers, airports, and military installations had to switch to emergency generators to maintain operations. However, reports indicate that not all facilities had sufficient energy reserves to sustain the long-term operation. This situation has raised concerns within Israel, as the power grid is one of the most vital infrastructures for the country's stability. Disruptions to the energy sector not only affect public activity, but also have the potential to weaken the operation.
Okay, now listen, I want you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention because they have put them in darkness. They hit the power grid. Okay, so with that all being said, hold on, beloveds. Hold on, give me just a second. I'm pulling up something. Okay, now with that all being said, let's go to this next clip. Because Putin is supposedly refusing to sell oil to the U.S. This is according to MS Now. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, let me say this. That report about them putting them in the dark, hitting the power grid, I'm not sure if that's true because I can't find any verified information on that. I can't find any verified information on that. So let me keep checking while you all watch this next video right here about Putin and the oil. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you.
Redefine the very fabric of our economy. A story of power, politics, and a world on edge. Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, has refused to sell oil to the United States. And the ripple effect? Experts warn of an economic shock that could shake America to its core. Let's start with the headlines, because the gravity of this situation cannot be overstated. The United States, the world's largest consumer of oil, has just been told an unequivocal no by one of the planet's largest energy suppliers. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has refused to sell oil to the Trump administration. Pause for a moment and consider what that really means. This is not a routine trade disagreement. This is not a minor hiccup in the global energy markets. This is a full-blown geopolitical earthquake. Why an earthquake? Because oil is not just a commodity. It is the lifeblood of the global economy. From fueling our cars and trucks to powering factories and heating homes, oil underpins nearly every aspect of modern life. When a nation like Russia, which sits atop some of the world's most abundant energy reserves, closes its doors to American buyers, the consequences are immediate, profound, and unavoidable. For the United States, this is a double-edged sword. On one side, the economy faces an imminent shock. Gas prices could soar overnight. Supply chains, already stressed, could buckle. Manufacturers and farmers alike could find themselves squeezed by rising operational costs. Ordinary Americans, meanwhile, would feel the pinch at the gas pump, in their grocery bills, and even in the electricity that keeps their homes running. On the other side, this refusal sends a powerful geopolitical signal. Putin is asserting leverage in the global arena, demonstrating that energy is not just about economics. It's about influence, strategy, and power. By denying oil to the United States, Russia is effectively reminding the world that global energy markets are interconnected and that no country, not even the United States, operates in isolation. And let's be clear, this is not a distant problem. The tremors of this decision will ripple across financial markets, political corridors, and international alliances. Washington will have to navigate a complex maze of domestic pressure, economic recalibration, and diplomatic maneuvering, all while a superpower like Russia signals that it will act decisively to protect its interests.
Okay, y'all hear that? Absolutely nefarious, honey. Okay, I bet Trump is walking around right now with egg on his face. Now, but here's what I did look into about the power grid. Okay, so basically it says that Israel's oil infrastructure has been hit. Okay, during intense regional conflicts, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps targeted the Bazan Group oil refinery in Haifa, which is Israel's largest oil processing facility. Now, reports indicate this strike, part of a series of retaliatory actions, hit the refinery, causing it to shut down some units. Furthermore, they go on to say that the persistent targeted attacks on the refinery and power stations during this conflict raised the risk of localized power outages and severe shortages because it actually puts pressure on the power grid. Okay, so in contrast, as of March the 8th, 2026, similar strikes on Iranian infrastructure were reported to have plunged parts of Tehran into darkness due to both physical damage and thick smoke from burning oil depots. Okay, so that's the gist of what has been reported. Just want to make sure I'm giving out the most accurate information because you know that the United States and Bibi are saying one thing and then some other outlets from around the world are saying another. Okay, please pay attention.
Of an enemy, similar to these bases, facilities, and equipment, will be destroyed again and again with crushing blows. Iran's latest and most menacing warning to its enemies has dropped in spectacular fashion. Israel may be trying hard to conceal the true scale of damage to its vital oil depot, but on the ground the reality in Haifa appears far more dire. As its much-hyped defenses appear to falter under sustained attack, Israel now stands accused by Iran of taking an unusual shield. The IRGC has openly charged that the Israeli army is using its own civilians as human shields to protect its soldiers. It is not just Israel that is feeling the heat, as American military bases across the region also come under intense pressure in the 27th wave.
I'm sorry, did he say that they're using their citizens to protect their soldiers? Do you all hear this? Now, if true, that is absolutely nefarious. Okay, please pay attention.
Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq have been thrust into the line of fire, with Iranian drones and missiles setting sites ablaze. Now unleashed the 27th wave of Operation True Promise 4, combining precision missile strikes with swarms of armed drones in a coordinated multi-front assault. According to an official IRGC statement, this latest phase specifically targeted US and Israeli military positions, aiming to weaken command hubs and strategic assets simultaneously. Iran says it struck an oil refinery in Israel's Haifa area using Kibar-Shikan missiles fitted with cluster bomb warheads, designed to maximize damage across the sprawling industrial facility. While Israeli media insist the incoming missile landed harmlessly in an open area, Iranian sources firmly maintain that the projectile directly hit the refinery complex and sparked major damage. Reports further suggest that Iranian missiles also struck near the city of Qadira, which houses Israel's crucial Oret Rabin power plant, raising fears over potential hits on energy infrastructure. Additional blasts were reportedly heard around Jerusalem, while air raid sirens wailed across Tel Aviv, signaling yet another wave of incoming threats over Israel's heartland. The IRGC further alleged that Israeli authorities were trying to confine residents to the north and center of the country, limiting their movement under the pretext of security. Tehran's forces went even further, accusing Israel of restricting civilians in order to use them as human shields, supposedly to protect high-ranking army officers and sensitive facilities. Even Israeli outlets appeared to acknowledge that Iran had fired cluster munitions toward Israeli territory, signaling a dangerous escalation in the types of weapons being deployed. However, the Israeli military claimed that the majority of Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted by its air defense systems before they could reach their targets.
Yeah, I'm not too sure I believe that. Okay, I'm not too sure I believe that they were intercepted. I think they absolutely hit their targets. Roddy says Trump should not have bragged. This will be over quickly because now he has egg on his face. Of course he does. Okay, he already had ugly on his face and now egg at it. Please make it all make sense.
Despite those interceptions, fragments from one destroyed missile reportedly fell on a home in the city of Lod, causing damage and panic among residents there. Israeli reports stressed that no injuries were recorded in this latest barrage of Iranian attacks, even as explosions and alerts disrupted daily life across multiple cities. Beyond Israel itself, US military bases stationed in allied Arab countries also came under heavy fire, signaling Iran's intent to broaden the pressure on American forces. The IRGC said it targeted command units and weapons warehouses linked to the US Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, striking at the heart of Washington's maritime presence in the Gulf. Iranian drones are also reported to have hit hotels in Bahrain and Iraq that were believed to be hosting US military personnel, expanding the battlefield into civilian-adjacent zones. Kuwait, too, reported a wave of hostile drone incursions, with at least some strikes said to have targeted fuel tanks at its international airport in a brazen show of reach.
Let me say this. You know what I think? Roddy said I meant orange egg, LOL. Okay. But you know what I think? I do think that now, since Iran has come out and apologized for attacking their neighbors and saying that they're not going to any longer attack them unless they're attacked first, you know what I'll bet's going to happen? I'm willing to bet money that either Trump is going to get the US or BB will attack those people and then try to lie and blame it on Iran. Okay, I don't put anything past them, so please just watch out for that and pay attention, because I'm pretty sure that's something that they will definitely try. Let's continue.
The IRGC has warned that it will keep launching operations against what it labels as legitimate targets, vowing that its campaign will not stop as long as threats persist. The Islamic Republic of Iran respects the interests and sovereignty of its neighboring countries and has not carried out any incursions against them. However, any location from which aggression against Iran is launched will be regarded as a legitimate target. Iran will not compromise with the United States or the Zionist regime. Countries that have not provided space and facilities to the United States and the Zionist regime have not been and will not be our target, but all bases that are the origin of attacks against Iran will, as before, be heavily targeted on land, sea, and in space. We explicitly say that we struck them and destroyed them as a lesson for anyone who dares to violate our nation, and know that from now on, anything built in the name of an enemy, similar to these bases, facilities, and equipment, will be destroyed again and again with crushing blows. The Islamic Republic of Iran strongly welcomes the escort of oil tankers and the reported presence of American forces seeking to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and says it is awaiting them. We advise the Americans to remember, before taking any decision, the burning of the supertanker Bridgeton in 1987 and the oil tankers targeted more recently. In this battle, entering the area vertically does not mean you will leave it the same way. The same applies to your ships. You may intend to enter as floating vessels, but they may sink vertically to the bottom of the Persian Gulf. And a reminder to the corrupt island man, US President Donald Trump, the ground on this war map is in our hands, and we will continue. Iran's latest attacks were framed as retaliation, coming after Israel reportedly launched strikes on vital oil infrastructure in and around Tehran. The Israeli army claimed that its earlier raids had focused on Iranian fuel depots, which it alleged were directly linked to Tehran's military logistics and operations. Iran's National Oil Refining and Distribution Company confirmed that key energy infrastructure came under missile attack on March 7th, triggering fires and emergency responses. According to the company, oil depots in both Tehran and neighboring Alborz province were struck by missiles, igniting large fires as firefighting teams rushed in to bring the blazes under control.
All right, so you all heard that. That is from the the Hindustan Times. Okay, so, and that's what I'm talking about. You have to get your news sources about this whole war from anybody other than the lamestream media, because they're only Trump's talking heads. Okay, they're only Trump's talking heads. Let's not forget who owns the media and wants to control the narrative.
Absolutely apocalyptic scene here. We've just made it to the Shahran oil depot, which was attacked last night in a massive wave of airstrikes. We heard those going on for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, with massive thuds and then explosions that we could hear. And that thick black plume of smoke, we saw that last night, and now we're actually seeing it up close. And what we're also seeing is that some of those destroyed storage tanks are still on fire. There's still flames originating from them. You can also see here that the area around here is also completely destroyed. There's people here actually working on this electricity pole to try and get the electricity back. And then this tanker vehicle here also that is right in front of the gate has been completely destroyed as well. The front gate of the facility also in complete ruins. The facility appears to be completely in ruins now after these massive airstrikes. And again, still on fire, still burning. And you can see that thick black smoke through the entire city across all of Tehran. It's been raining this morning in Tehran. There was oil mixed into the rain. So this is definitely a massive incident that is still going on. It's an absolutely apocalyptic scene here. We've just made it to the Shahran oil depot, which was attacked.
Now I want you to notice the key words, the trigger words he's using. Apocalyptic. Okay, and then here's another report where they're talking about Armageddon, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me click on this real quick.
Apocalyptic type scenes emerging from Tehran after a number of oil refineries were struck by US and Israeli attacks believed to be from fighter jets. There are 3 separate areas, and you can see in the video there are incredible plumes of smoke and fire as people watch on in horror. The US president had warned areas not previously targeted would become the focus. Today saying Iran had been beat to hell, claiming that's why Iran's president made that extraordinary statement apologising to Gulf nations who had been copping hits from Iran's retaliation. Now, despite that apology, Iran's strikes on neighbours just keep coming. Reports are emerging that the 23 Marina Tower in Dubai has been hit by a drone and is now smoking. Earlier, the Dubai airport was hit and a driver was killed from falling shrapnel following an interception. So any hope?
Now, my question is that Iran that's still hitting them? If Iran said they're going to stop hitting them unless they're hit, is that Iran doing this? I'm going to wait and see what they say to this, because I don't believe anything that the U.S. is saying. Now, this is being reported by Australia. So, but nonetheless, I'm going to wait and see what they have to say about it.
That apology would lead to some kind of de-escalation has virtually dried up. The statement itself likely the result of building diplomatic pressure from Iran's neighbouring countries. But Iran's foreign minister has once again promised not to surrender. Lebanon continues to be battered by Israel, who's trying to beat down Hezbollah. The Israeli prime minister putting extra pressure on the Lebanese government to disarm the militia and return to the ceasefire struck in 2024. The death toll there is now well above 300. In Iran, it is exceeding 1,000 people killed. Benjamin Netanyahu gave an address here tonight saying there are still more surprises and targets to come, showing that this conflict is certainly not slowing down. Well, there are apocalyptic.
Yeah, apocalyptic. That's what she said, not Armageddon. That's the word they keep using. Now, Mally C just sent me this. Thank you, Mally C. Damage in Bibi's Beit Shemesh after Iranian attack kills 9. Okay, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you.
Shockwave of the boom that I heard in my life.
Were you safe?
Can you just describe this place? So, let's say over here, CNN branch in India.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's live on YouTube or all as well?
Also, I will send you a link.
אתם שומעים? MCR?
לא, אפשר להעביר בלייב אבל?
בלייב, אבל הם צריכים להקליט את זה.
It's just devastating, really devastating. People are killed here, not only in the synagogue, but also mother and daughter who live in that house. And over there was a house, you cannot see them anymore. This gap where you have the tree. המולה גדולה, בוקה ומבולקה, ממש כאוס, והאפים של הבית שלי נזוקו.
אתה ממש נגלת טוב.
חזקה, הם ירדו למקלט פנימי שצריך לרדת במדרגות. אני האמת שאנחנו לפני שהתפסקה של עין, יכול ללמוד שם, ולפעמים הוא הולך לכאן, ולא ידעו איפה הוא היה. ובסוף קרה נורא.
שלום לתורצה, תודה. אני אחרי על כל הזבל שנראה בית שמש. בוא נשאר. בוקר טוב יצחק. בוקר אור. מה קורה?
Okay, oh, nefarious. How long until Trump abandons Netanyahu? This is what the next clip is about.
Everybody's keeping track. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, already told us that the Israelis and Netanyahu said to the Americans, we're going into Iran whether you come along or not, but we think you should come along. Donald Trump thought about that for a little while. He had a choice between going into Iran, which most of his military advisors said, do not do this, and having truly catastrophic video evidence released against him from the Epstein files by the Israelis, because, of course, Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli intelligence operation. Trump went into Iran, instantly putting 50,000 service members at risk in the region. So now we're in a bombing campaign in Iran where we have already bombed a school full of little girls and killed over 100 people. Then what does Netanyahu do? He pivots to a land grab in southern Lebanon, tells people to get out of the region, that it belongs to Israel now, and begins a land incursion and a shooting war with Hezbollah, which means while Americans sure as hell didn't want a war in Iran and continue to say so loudly and clearly, we are now in a war in southern Lebanon with Hezbollah. And I don't care if a single American boot ever touches the ground in Lebanon. We are now connected at the hip with Israel in a shooting war. Donald Trump has us in a second theater of war because he is so completely compromised by the Israeli intelligence Epstein operation. And now that he's agreed to go into Iran, Netanyahu can drag him into any theater of war he chooses. I will say this in closing. Donald Trump is a fairly craven and untrustworthy ally. Rumors are bubbling up everywhere on the internet that the number of casualties of U.S. service members is much higher than Donald Trump wants to admit. And you have to think about it. Iranian hypersonic missiles have been falling on American installations all over the Middle East. It's pretty obvious that Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about innocent human lives. His association with Jeffrey Epstein's already proof enough of that. If Donald Trump gets enough negative press, if his poll numbers drop even further, Trump will simply declare some victory in Iran and leave. And this is the kind of thinking that Donald Trump is prone to, last second sort of panic decisions. And so leaving Netanyahu in the lurch in Iran is something he's perfectly capable of. Remember, he's able to do Trump first, America last every single day of the week. So I would imagine a moment of Trump first, Netanyahu last would come pretty easily to a man like that.
Okay, I want you all to pay attention. Because here's the thing, Trump absolutely, he just pretty much has to be lying about the number of casualties for the U.S. because they've been getting hit with hypersonic missiles, okay, from day one. Now, a hypersonic missile, which is, by the way, a missile that travels faster, okay, over 3,800 miles per hour or 6,100 kilometers per hour, okay, which can cause several types of damage depending on the warhead and target. The extreme speed itself also adds destructive power, okay? Please pay attention. Now, this can cause kinetic impact damage, even without an explosive, okay? A hypersonic missile can destroy targets through pure kinetic energy. Now, at March the 5th through 10th, the missile carries, at Mach 5 to 10, the missile carries enormous momentum. Okay, impact can punch through reinforced structures even. Similar concept to kinetic kill vehicles. Okay, the damage some of the damage, for example, would include deep penetration of bunkers, destruction of hardened military facilities, crippling ships or air bases. Conventional explosive damage, okay, would include, because they say many hypersonic missiles carry high explosive warheads. The damage can include large blast radius, structural collapse of buildings, destruction of runways, radar systems and bases, fires, and secondary explosions. Okay, example systems include Russia's KH-47MT Kinzhal and China's DF-17. Now, nuclear damage, if equipped, they say some hypersonic systems are designed to carry nuclear warheads. Now, if nuclear armed, the damage could include massive blast destruction, thermal radiation and fires, electromagnetic pulse, which are EMPs, okay, radioactive fallout. So precision strike damage. Hypersonic weapons are also designed for precision targeting, okay, which Trump said they're not precise, that they're missing their targets, the lies that he tells. Hypersonic weapons are also designed for precision targeting. They can hit aircraft carriers, missile defense systems, underground command centers, critical infrastructure, okay, just to name a few. Okay, please pay attention to the strategic effects. Well, beyond physical destruction, hypersonic missiles create very little warning time, like just a few minutes, difficulty for missile defenses to track, potential decapitation strikes on leadership or command centers. Okay. This is what they can do, but Trump wants us to think that there's only 6 people dead. Okay, please pay attention.
This morning with Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman, who is in Tel Aviv, Israel.
For 7 days, the U.S. and Israel targeted regime leadership and military installations, but overnight, towering flames cast an eerie orange glow over Tehran after Israel struck what it said was an Iranian military fuel depot. Drivers on this highway detouring around the flames. Video circulating seems to show sewers and streets on fire as well. This morning, those fires still burning under blackened skies, a huge plume hanging over the city. And with over 1,300 dead in Iran, according to the Red Crescent, the country's clerics have now announced they are close to selecting a new leader. Support has recently crystallized around Ayatollah Khamenei's hardline son, Mujtaba. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's advisor, Michael Eisenberg, with a blunt message.
You know, the highest risk job right now is to be the new Ayatollah. That's a high-risk job. To be the head of the Iranian military, the IRGC, those are high-risk jobs. Don't take them.
They're going to be targeted.
Don't take those jobs. These are high-risk jobs. We're watching you.
The president has demanded a say in the selection of Iran's next leader, and Israel's Netanyahu using an address overnight to directly speak to the Iranian people. He said, "I've been speaking to you and for you for decades. The moment of truth is approaching, for we do not seek to divide Iran, we seek to liberate Iran and live with it in peace." In Lebanon, Iran's main proxy in the region, Hezbollah, has stepped up rocket and drone fire at Israel. Overnight, most of that intercepted. In response, Israel has ordered some 300,000 residents of Hezbollah's stronghold in Beirut to flee, taking out building after building.
Margaret, a short time ago, a bomblet from one of those cluster munitions landed in that building behind me. You can see it flung a car up in the air. They are now in the process of moving it. Israeli authorities telling me that Iran is now relying more heavily on those cluster munitions, which spread out those bomblets high up in the atmosphere, and they're finding those much more difficult to stop. Margaret.
That's Matt Gutman in Tel Aviv.
All right, let's continue. Now, here is Iran basically saying that the U.S. attacked them out of frustration. Okay, let's get into it.
Question why we are here and why American and Israelis started aggression against Iran and invaded Iran. This act of aggression, why happened? This is $1 million question. And if you pose this question to American administration, based on the market and the audience, you will get different answers. One day they say that, okay, it was because nuclear weapon program was happening in Iran. The other day would say that it because Iran was posing an imminent threat. The other day would say that it is because of the change of the political structure of Iran. My country is under attack based on lies, based on flat lies that Iran was imposing imminent threat and these sort of things. You have to know that. A week ago, we were in Geneva with the mediation of Foreign Minister of Oman and with the presence of Mr. Grossi, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. We nailed down a practical agreement in which that Foreign Minister of Oman said that the agreement is at reach and everything is ready. We actually identified Monday to go to Vienna and just write down everything. We left the room. The American, negotiator said that very promising. Thank you very much. We are going to hand over our written proposal on Monday. And then we left the room, we arrived in Tehran, and they started aggression against us. This is a TV reality show. They invite you to have diplomacy in place while they are making military build-up, and there is no actual understanding of why they started this. If you ask me why they started this, it is because of the power politics and because of the greater Israel and because of the prime minister of the regime of Israel, that they would like to seek greater Israel, and they think that is a once-a-century opportunity for them to just exercise edge over other countries and impose their hegemony over other countries to change the Middle East forever. But what is happening right now, everybody should know that they are carpet bombing Iran out of frustration because they would like to see a new Middle East. And this is why that we are here. Why it is different? Because they would like to put an end to the existence of Iran. We have not yet closed the Strait of Hormuz. Those insurance companies that they have stopped insuring, vessels and tankers is the main cause of no tankers going through a Strait of Hormuz. Yet we have said that no vessel, no tankers by U.S. or Israeli flag or those who have been helping them cannot go through the Strait of Hormuz. We are on the record that we have not closed the Strait of Hormuz, and we have no intention to do that until further notice. If we do that, we are going to announce that, and we are going to do that responsibly. We are anchor of stability. We are anchor of stability in the Strait of Hormuz because we are actually there. And we are also using that. President Trump is asking for change in the leadership of Iran, and he says that I have to have voice on that, while he cannot appoint even the mayor of New York. Can you imagine this colonial approach that he would like to see democracy at home, but he would like to topple down a democratically elected president of Iran and assassinating other countries? So this is the path that they are going, and this is the heroic, resistance that we are doing. And the other path is inclusion. Maybe you need to know a piece of information that you didn't know. Parallel to our discussion and negotiation in Geneva with the United States, by which they were just attending with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and no expert on nuclear, nuanced, complicated issue. And you have to ask why, when you are going to talk about such a nuanced issue, why they are coming with two and staying 1, 2, or 3 hours, at most 7 hours. But anyway, they were a parallel, path which was between Iran, Oman, Qatar, and the other countries in the Persian Gulf to have an inclusive dialogue happening at the same time. The second one was not announced, but now I am revealing that. And Americans and Israelis just spoiled that. And we do believe that Israelis, because they knew it is happening, they rushed into dragging everybody into this war. Our friends in Oman knows that, and our friends in the GCC knows that. And we are very much sorry. The moment this atrocity stops, I think that this is the moment for the region to move on to a new security and inclusive arrangement. We are just resisting. The other side has started an act of aggression against us. So the ball is in the room of who has started the aggression. If they stop today the aggression, we are defending. We are not on offense. So it is very much quite clear if they want to stop this atrocity today, that those who have started the attack, they can do that. We genuinely, we are Iran, we are Persia, we are country of chessmate, and you know that. You are also Indo-Persian civilization which we are just which we share with each other. We are not in American football mentality. We are in chess mentality. So this is what we are doing. They are trying to bullying everybody and just trying spoiling. I think diplomacy down the road is the only option that each country has. I really doubt this administration understands the geniality and also the essence of diplomacy and dialogue and compromise, which means give and take and not dictation.
All right, you all heard that. Basically, they started it. Okay, if they want to stop it, then that's when it'll stop. But not until then, because they're not going to give up at the end of the day. And it's just all so nefarious as far as I'm concerned. But I'll tell you what else is nefarious. Let's get into it. Because I find it interesting that Trump was talking about, Iran having nuclear capabilities, but doesn't have a concern at all. And nor will the lamestream media discuss the fact that Bibi and his people have nuclear capabilities. And it's okay for them to have it, but nobody else better dare. Make it all make sense.
Western media coverage of the Iran-Israel crisis, you might be witnessing a rather upside-down, topsy-turvy, bizarro view of the world, of reality. You're not being told everything. You're being given skewed perceptions. For example, if you're watching Western media coverage, you might come away with the impression that Iran attacked Israel out of the blue and Israel is responding, when it's the other way around. We all saw on Thursday night that it was Israel that launched an illegal act of aggression against Iran. Iran is the victim here, Israel is the aggressor, but in the Western media coverage, Israel is the victim always. Some other points you may miss while watching Western media coverage, for example, Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. Israel does. Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. Israel isn't. Iran has allowed IAEA inspectors into its country. Israel doesn't. It's a nuclear double standard that I raised with former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon a few years back on my Al Jazeera English show Head to Head, in a clip that's recently gone viral again.
Now, I want you to pay attention to the arrogance of this man, okay, that he's about to show. He's very arrogant, okay, quite frankly. Please pay attention.
How many nuclear weapons does Israel have? Because experts say it's anywhere between 80 and 400.
So what? So what? Yeah, so what? Has Israel ever threatened?
Do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy. Let me ask you again. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear program, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course.
And yet you sit here as a former minister of the Israeli government saying, I don't know, never talked about nukes with anyone.
Because there was like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there is against Israel. And there is against Israel as well.
About
your nuclear program.
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because
there you have it, the nuclear double standard. Israel violates multiple UN Security Council resolutions when it comes to its own stockpile of nuclear weapons. And yet Western media interviewers who have multiple Israelis on air all the time never really ask about this, never really ask about Israel's nukes. Why? I get why Israel wants to maintain its policy of nuclear ambiguity, of not confirming or denying that it has nukes. But why does the US media, the UK media, the Canadian media, why do they all have to go along with it?
Likely because they're all being blackmailed over the Epstein files. Okay, likely because they're all being blackmailed over the Epstein files. Now, that's just my opinion because we already know Jeffrey Epstein was absolutely getting these politicians globally involved in that stuff just so his people with those little hats could have the upper advantage over them and be able to control them and get them to do things at their behest, whether they wanted to or not. Just my opinion.
Flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it.
Ooh, honey, isn't that some tough talk? Isn't that some tough talk? He needs to sit down somewhere. Yeah, they will be the ones who decide when it's over, and rightfully so, because they're the ones who started it. Okay? But here's the thing I want you to pay attention to. What he's not saying is when the U.S. decides that it's over, that's when they are basically saying and admitting that they have lost. Okay? That's when they're saying that they surrender. Trump wants you to think that Iran is going to surrender. They will not. It will absolutely unequivocally be the U.S., okay, who surrenders first. Just remember, I told you that. Okay, they're going to come out and talk tough when they do and say, oh, yeah, we decided to end it. We knew they couldn't take anymore. We've already taken out their naval or their navy. We're controlling the air. Here's the thing. If you've done all this damage, as you say, why the hell is the war still raging on? Why is the war still escalating? Why hasn't it ended already? If they're doing the damage that they continue to lie and say that they are doing. Okay, is anyone paying attention to that? Okay, Trump said that they're already wrecked. Isn't that what he basically said? That it's basically a wrap for them. They've got no Navy. We're controlling the air. All right, we're knocking them down. So I'm sorry, sir. Why is it still going on again? And didn't you say that it would be over in 4 to 5 days? Now you're saying 5 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks. But if all the damage has been done as they proclaim, it should already be ending right about now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? But let's continue.
B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it.
Here's the thing. Nice MK10 or M10K says, I don't even want to put this out in the universe, but what is to stop Trump and Putin from just using nuclear weapons in this war? Well, here's the thing. I don't think Putin would start a nuclear war. Okay, I very seriously doubt that's what Putin would do. And here's the thing. Anyone with sense does not want a nuclear war. That could be the destruction of civilization. Okay, but the bottom line is if anyone started a nuclear war, it would be none other than stupid Trump. Because I don't know if you all know this or not, but in the past, he has seemed as though he was anxious to possibly start a nuclear war. In my opinion, he has said things that make it sound as though he's anxious to start a nuclear war at one point in his previous presidency, in my opinion. But also the fact that, Trump is a whole idiot. Okay, and he's just a whole idiot, and he wants to win by any means necessary, and he's losing pitifully. So if anyone was going to do that, it would be him, in my opinion. And also, let's not forget that he said you can't allow crazy people, you can't allow a crazy person to be to have nuclear weapons. Well, he's the one that's crazy. He's the one that no one should ever trust to have nuclear weapons. Okay, if anything like that were to happen, it would absolutely unequivocally be the United States under the orders of ignorant arse Trump.
This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down.
Now, this so-called Secretary of War should never be in a position of power. He sounds like he's drunk on power. I think he thinks that he looks powerful and he sounds powerful when the opposite is true. This guy sounds like a psychopath. His conduct is so unbecoming. His conduct is so bombastic, overly theatrical, and steeped in swaggering hubrism. Pete Hegseth is more concerned with optics than with delivering a sober strategic communication. Because nobody's buying this bullshit bravado. He's like that bully on the playground that when you get one-on-one with him, you can bust him with a pin. Because what?
Okay. Peaceful Living says he's going to find himself in a quagmire because he didn't plan. Beloved, he's already in a quagmire. Please pay attention with his stupid self. And he absolutely didn't plan. You can tell that by the fact that his foolish self thought he was just going to come in there, have the Ayatollah taken out, and then everything was just going to go to hell for Iran. And they would just basically surrender real quick. And the whole thing will be done and over with in less than a week. Okay, that's how you know the fool didn't plan. He didn't even expect for it to be lasting, into the stage that it's currently in. So there was no plan.
Do you mean death and destruction from the sky all day long? Tehran has a population denser than New York City. So you're going to murder millions of Iranians because you want to get to their government? This is an illegal war built on lies. And he's literally boasting that he's going to murder human beings, children, innocent men and women, to show off America's military power.
And then talking about Trump said that Iran is not going to be able to continuously bully people in the Middle East. First of all, Trump is the bully. It's the United States. That's the bully. Okay, please pay attention. Now, JL says not Trump, his advisors. Well, yeah, he is being advised by idiots like Stephen Miller and Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner, as I told you all a month or so ago, he's the one pulling the strings in most of the cases, him and Bibi Netanyahu. At the end of the day, but the bottom line is Trump is the one giving these orders to our military. So I'm going to put the blame on him, even though he's likely doing exactly what he's been told and instructed to do. Okay, please pay attention.
I found his entire speech contemptible. I find Pete Hegseth to be politically irresponsible, gleefully aggressive, and the least qualified person for this position. I'm going to leave the 2024 version of Hegseth to talk some sense to this 2026 mess we just heard speak.
I've been a recovering neocon for 6 years now. Like the foolishness with which we ricocheted around the world, intervening, think it was in our best interest when really we just overturned the table and created something worse in almost every single scenario, has led to almost, the hubris of the Pentagon is that they want to now tell other countries how to do counterinsurgency based on what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, are you kidding me? So you really have learned nothing. Okay, nothing. So yeah, you're right. The trust there that our political leaders or our generals would have our best interests in mind is totally broken. It's totally broken.
Flying over.
Okay, so you all heard that. Completely saying the opposite of what he now says. Okay, completely saying the opposite of what he now says. Okay, Myron, my email address is QueenAmadiahShakur@gmail.com. One of the moderators, please put my email address in the chat, please, and thank you. Okay, so here's the video where Trump says crazy people shouldn't have the nuclear codes or whatever. It's because bad things will happen. Should be talking about himself.
If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon. And when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen.
Did you and I just hear Donald Trump say when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen? Hey, you know what? Let me just go Nigerian on you for 1 second. Because there's a Yoruba proverb that says, Kokoro tó ń jẹ ẹ̀fọ́, abẹ́ ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà. Literally meaning the insect that eats the vegetable lives under the vegetable. You know, like the call is coming from inside the house. Because you see, I would think that bad things happening when crazy people have nuclear weapons looks like this. Exhibit 1. What is the first and only country to have used nuclear weapons in war? That's right, you guessed it. The United States of America. Let's say together, when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen. Exhibit 2. What is the only country in the world to use nuclear weapons against its own citizens? Yes, you guessed it right. The United States of America. Go look it up. Crazy people with nuclear weapons do bad things. Exhibit 3. Come on. The first country in the world to detonate a hydrogen bomb, destroy part of an island which is still radioactive to date. The United States of America. Oh, don't you just love the way America leads by example? Oh, let's see that again. Crazy people with nuclear weapons do bad things. What is the only democracy known to have detained people indefinitely without trial? Yeah, you got it right. The United States of America. Listen, America has range that is not limited to nuclear powers alone. It's any kind of power it has. By now, I don't need to ask you any more questions because you should know that the answer to every question is America. Because yes, America is the first nation to deploy weaponized drones for global targeted killings. That's right. And it did that in countries like Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, and Afghanistan. I'm just saying, before Donald Trump points the finger at Iran, maybe he should take a good look in the mirror and point the finger at America first. You know what I mean? But I very much doubt that if this guy looks in the mirror, he would see the hypocrisy and double standards that he embodies. In the words of Britney Spears, Trump, hit me with it one more time.
When crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen.
Irony is dead.
Okay. Classic hypocrisy coming from Trump. All right, now let's go to China, who has officially entered the Iran. Have they officially entered the Iranian war? Okay, Xi Jinping's close aide warns the U.S. before Trump's summit. Okay, now this is from Times of India, reported 5 hours ago. Let's get into it.
Force does not equate to moral right, and the world cannot regress to the law of the jungle. Constantly resorting to military force does not prove one's true strength or power. The general public must not be allowed to become innocent victims of any war or conflict.
This is a war that should not have happened, and one that benefits no party. The Middle East's history has repeatedly taught us that force is not the solution, and resorting to arms will only fuel new hatred and create new crises. The Chinese side wishes to once again call for an immediate halt to all military actions to prevent the situation from repeatedly escalating and to avoid the conflict from spilling over and spreading widely.
China is positioning itself as a stabilizing force on the global stage as the war involving Iran, the United States, and Israel continues to intensify. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for an immediate ceasefire in the escalating Middle East conflict. Wang said the war should never have happened and warned that the violence benefits no one. He urged all parties involved in the conflict to stop the fighting and return to diplomacy. According to Wang, negotiations and equal dialogue remain the only viable path to resolving the crisis and preventing the flames of war from spreading across the wide.
Let's continue. Let's go to this next clip where London erupts. Thousands march against the U.S. BB war, okay, or the Epstein war on Iran. Okay, they rage outside of the U.S. Embassy. This was reported 6 hours ago. Nobody wanted this war except for Bibi and Trump, okay? And the rest of his puppet masters.
I am here to oppose the war, the illegal war on my country alongside Palestine and Lebanon and the whole of the region. We might hate multiple things at the same time. It doesn't mean that we invite destruction of our country and killing of our people. Innocent people are being killed right now, and this is not going to bring about any peace or democracy for our country. Stop military interventions, stop killing our people, and show sympathy and solidarity in other ways other than throwing bombs on our heads.
And here's the thing. You know, Trump's doing this under the guise that he's actually trying to help the Iranians, okay? The Iranians at the end of the day. No, he isn't. All right? And hold on. Let's go back to this clip. Hikobo Fetty says, doesn't China have those Kung Fu Power Ranger AI robots and robot dog drones swarm with machine pew-pews strapped on their backs? I don't know, beloved. Do they? I'm not sure.
Or another massacre of slaughtering children and killing civilians. For what? Nobody knows. Is it oil? Is it money? Is it Epstein? No one on the UK, on the latest polls, suggest more than 90% of the people say no to war. Nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants to see innocent children, innocent people killing and dying. You're not killing the soldiers. You're killing innocent people, innocent civilians.
Okay, so please pay attention. That's exactly what they're doing, supposedly, from the world news around the world. I told you all. Okay, they're not taking out the Iranian soldiers. They're taking out innocent people and civilians, targeting hospitals and schools, allegedly. Now, they can sit there and lie about it and deny it and try to blame it on Iran, but why would they be doing that to themselves? Now, this is a clip. I'm going to have to put an overlay on this because this is from a documentary. Let me see here. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Give me just a second to get a better overlay for this. We'll just put BB's face over this because it's supposedly him speaking on morality, which I find to be very interesting and, quite frankly, ironic, to say the least. Okay, here we go.
Somebody to blow up a bus full of children or a building full of innocent civilians, you have to grind it into their minds. You have to wash their brains and tell them there is a higher cause out there. It's religious, ethnic, racial, whatever. And for that higher cause, you can disregard all the normal rules of morality.
Did you all hear that? That's what BB said. Okay? Did you all hear that? That's what BB had to say. Let's rewind it back.
Get somebody to blow up a bus full of children or a building full of innocent civilians, you have to grind it into their minds. You have to wash their brains and tell them there is a higher cause out there. It's religious, ethnic, racial, whatever. And for that higher cause, you can disregard all the normal rules of morality.
And then he said, wash their brains. Okay, so he's talking about using brainwashing tactics. All right, so much for MK Ultra. Please pay attention. Okay, but we're supposed to think, mind you, he just said what he said, but we're supposed to think that it's Iran that took out their own children in elementary schools, at least 160 supposedly. Yeah, absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not.
Well, y'all, I got confirmation. Y'all peep this shit. So, y'all remember old boy from Iran? You know, the supreme leader? Yeah, this guy, the supreme leader of Iran. It has been confirmed. Oh, yeah, they got him. He got. So, that's very unfortunate. But, with that being said, there's also something unfortunate I will also like to report. So y'all remember that school that they said they had hit, that all-girls school located in Iran? Come to find out, it was 150 baby girls that was taken out by that airstrike. And you know what's fucked up about this whole thing? Not only is our tax-paying dollars going towards bullshit like this, it is also going towards funding the lifestyle of the best friend that helped them do this fucking shit. While we, on the other hand, get fucking chump chains at the end of the fucking day, knowing good and goddamn well our fucking income taxes are only gonna last us about a good 2 fucking months. Meanwhile, however, our fucking tax money over there in fucking Israel, oh honey, not only are we paying for their universal fucking health care, we are also paying for the fucking fact that each child that they fucking have, they get paid $1,000 up until their child is of age of an adult. $1,000 per child. So now that kind of had you fucking wondering, I wonder what does the average paying American get from that? Nothing. Oh, you didn't know that about Israel? Yeah, look that shit up. We are paying for their fucking livelihood. We're paying for this goofy ass fucking war. But what do Americans get in fucking return? Nothing. So let me ask you this one more time. Are we great yet? Highly doubt that.
Okay. She seems definitely ticked off, and rightfully so. Now, Nubia says the Iranian president apologized to Saudi, but they've got to do it since they want to align with Western powers. Who wants to align with Western powers? Iran? No, they don't. They don't want to align with Western powers. They're going to keep striking. Okay, they're going to keep coming for them. They apologize because those are their neighbors and they didn't want to have to drag them into this. They really have not been hitting them per se. They've been hitting the U.S. military bases there. So when they apologized, they basically told them, listen, we're going to stop attacking you all as long as none of y'all attack us back and as long as you don't allow the U.S. to come onto your territory. That's what that's all about. You're talking about Saudi Arabia? Well, Saudi Arabia, that's not why Iran apologized to them, though. Yeah, Saudi Arabia has been having ties with Trump. They gave Jared Kushner $2.5 billion for his project. And then also the crown Saudi prince came to visit Trump at the White House. So we know that Trump's, he's benefited from this relationship with them monetarily, of course, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, that's not why Iran apologized to them. Iran is just letting them know, no matter what kind of ties you have with the U.S. and Trump, you better not let them back on your territory. Okay, we'll leave you alone unless you do that. So they've already let them know what time it is. And hopefully, if they're smart, they'll do the right thing. Because I know they don't want the smoke. Because Iran's not playing any games. And I told you all the other day that Trump is playing checkers while Iran is playing chess. And what did the foreign minister say? It's exactly what he said. They're playing chess. Okay, they got chess moves. And what did he say the U.S. and Bibi were doing? He said they're playing football games. Isn't that what he said? He said, we're not playing football games. We're playing chess. So basically, he's saying they're the ones playing football games, okay, which is no level of competition anywhere near that of someone who's playing chess. Okay, they just need to call it quits and bring everybody on home, honey, and take their loss while they're at this point of the game already, because it's only going to get worse from here.
He took the money from the sale of the oil that he took from Venezuela, and he's hiding it in a bank in Qatar. I think it's about $500 million, but we have no idea because he won't share that information with us. We have no idea what he's going to be doing with it. And we also have no idea what the Qatar banks will be doing with it while.
Yeah, Frederick says, remember who gave Trump that plane? Exactly, that was Qatar. Okay, another one that Iran also bombed them, or not them per se, but the military, U.S. military bases there as well.
He decides he's using the proceeds from a U.S. military action without the approval of Congress. That's not only against the law, it's against our Constitution. Every single day, our Constitution is being destroyed because every time he breaks a law and nobody holds him accountable, he just keeps doing it again. The Department of Justice, the Supreme Court of the United States, and every single coward Republican in Congress keeps giving him more and more power every day. He's destroying our country and our Constitution, all while he and his family get richer and richer. And this time, he used our military. He used the lives of our service members to enrich himself. And Republicans in Congress don't care. They have no respect for our military. And he's going to try to use them again in Greenland and everywhere else that he feels like it. Cuba, Mexico, Colombia. What's next? So Trump took the money from the sale of the oil that he.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to that. How is he sitting up here snatching up this money, okay, that he got from the sale of Venezuela's oil and putting it in a private account for himself? All right, he should be in prison for that alone, as far as I'm concerned. Make that make sense. But you'll also want to know this tidbit of information. So basically, they say that possibly some United States citizens were taken out off the coast of Cuba. Okay, now let's talk about it. Like some, everyone, please like and share.
Well. Now, you know, I normally don't hop on here and do breaking news. I'll wait till the tea simmers in the brew before I pour it for you. But this is very, very important. On February 25th, today, Cuba's Interior Ministry reported that its border guard troops killed 4 people and injured 6 people on a Florida-registered speedboat that allegedly opened fire first. The incident occurred near Cayo Falcons, the Villa Clara province, after the boat entered Cuban waters, causing 1 Cuban officer to be injured. Cuban authorities claimed the speedboat initiated a confrontation by firing on officials during an identification attempt. 4 people on the boat were killed and 6 others were injured, all of whom are receiving medical care. The vessel was reported to be registered in Florida, though the identities and nationalities of the individuals on board have not been confirmed. Florida officials, including Representative Carlos Gomez, have condemned the action as a massacre and called for an immediate investigation into the incident, which occurred roughly 100 miles from Florida. Let's talk about it. Because really, we don't have a right here in the US of A to say shit about this today, do we? Because the Orange Buffoon and Petey Kegsbreath have indiscriminately, without congressional approval, been bombing boats in the Caribbean without any proof to share with us today that the boats that they were bombing were in any way criminals or drug traffickers. What did I tell you about this play? About allowing the president of the US of A to circumvent Congress and perform war plays in international waters. I warned you. I warned you about this. I warned you that other countries would have the right to do this too. I warned you that this would cost the lives of Americans across the fucking globe, boo. Because if the president of the United States can get away with committing murder in international waters without any congressional approval, declaration of war, or actual proof of an investigation, that other nations would do this too. And the reason that Cuba is so scared today is because we have allowed the president of the United States to act like an authoritarian king today and blow fucking people away. So we don't have a right to be mad. Nope, you don't. Red Hat, you don't have a right to be mad. Tit for motherfucking tat. That's how that works. That's how that works.
Okay. Now, she said what she said, honey. Trump needs to sit down somewhere. Now, Nubia says United States does not align with or fund Israel's universal healthcare system. The two systems are fundamentally different. The U.S. aid is restricted to military, not health funding. Did somebody mention that, beloved? Did they say that in one of the reports? Because I must have missed it. But what I will say is, now that's true. The U.S. doesn't directly fund Israel's universal healthcare system because that basically comes through Israel's income-based health taxes. But here's the thing. The U.S. provides billions of dollars in annual foreign aid. Primarily, it's for the military assistance, true. But critics argue that this funding, in fact, frees up Israelis' budget space for social services, even though it's not direct funding. And then some even argue that because military aid relieves Israel of certain security costs, it indirectly supports the overall budget, including the health sector. Okay, though it's not a direct transfer of the funds for the healthcare services, but basically it could be indirectly benefiting them for their healthcare services because they're getting all this money, okay, annually. And what's the question, or what's the reason for that? Why are they getting all this money annually? Why are they getting reparations, and black folk living over here absolutely cannot get any? Okay, after all that we've been through, I want y'all to marinate on that for a second. Okay. Now, with that all been said, let's go to this next clip, because supposedly they rejected Trump's deal, and he's got even more egg on his face. But he's not going to tell you that he offered them a deal. He's going to act like they're just ready to give up and surrender. And if they don't, or they better just cry uncle, okay? Like he's in middle school. Please pay attention. I'm going to put an overlay on this.
What you are seeing is not a president managing a war. What you are seeing is a president losing control of one. Donald Trump is now publicly telling the American people to prepare for a lot of death. Those are his words. He is saying the war could last 4 to 5 weeks. He is saying he wants to apply the Venezuela model to Iran. And he is claiming to be in productive discussions with Iran's top leadership, a claim that Iran's chief negotiator just publicly called a delusional fantasy. Meanwhile, an American F-15 Strike Eagle has crashed over Kuwait due to friendly fire. Iranian ballistic missiles are penetrating Israel's Iron Dome. U.S. embassies across the region are under siege. Pro-Iranian militias have destroyed an American ammunition factory in Erbil. And Dow futures dropped 500 points overnight, while crude oil spiked more than 7% past $72 a barrel.
Okay, do y'all hear this? Okay, do y'all hear this? Absolutely nefarious. Okay, let's continue.
This does not look like a mission progressing toward victory. It looks like the architecture of a catastrophe assembling itself in real time. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what just happened, why Iran's top negotiator just dismantled Trump's narrative on social media, and why the economic and military consequences of this war are about to land directly in your life.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. So Trump thought, I told you all this days ago. I'm so glad that it's all coming out. in the wash, because I told you all days ago, Trump thought that he was going to go in there because he got so gung-ho and he got his ego all boosted because of what happened in Venezuela when they successfully went over there and snatched up Maduro, and now he's been in charge of their oil. He's been selling their oil and putting money allegedly in his own private personal account. Okay? At the end of the day, he thought he was going to do the same thing. But here's the kicker to the whole story. Iran has come out and said, oh, you thought that we're Venezuela? Is that what you thought? We're going to get to that report next, okay? But let's continue.
Imagine you are in a business negotiation. A deal is on the table. Your counterpart is ready to sign. And then instead of closing, you flip the table, punch the other party in the face, and then call a reporter to say the conversation is going really well. How long before everyone in the room realizes you are not a deal maker, but a wrecking ball with a press strategy? Hold that thought, because that is precisely what the Trump administration just did with Iran. A deal was reportedly within reach. The mediator from Oman had indicated a framework was in place, and instead of closing, the administration launched an invasion and is now publicly claiming the people they are bombing are having productive discussions. Drop your answer in the comments. Is this negotiation or is this psychosis dressed up in diplomatic language? Let us rewind the clock. Before the missiles launched, there was a man named Ali Larijani. He is the secretary of Iran's National Security Council and was the chief negotiator in talks with the United States, mediated through Oman's foreign minister. On February 12, 2026, just 3 weeks before the invasion, Larijani appeared on camera and described exactly what was happening. He said Iran's negotiations were exclusively with the United States. He said Israel had inserted itself into the process with the intent of undermining and sabotaging those negotiations. He said Israel's strategy was to destabilize the region and that regional leaders should be aware. He named Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey as targets of Israeli maneuvering. That was the warning. That was the roadmap of what was about to go wrong. And nobody in Washington listened. Or more accurately, the people who listened were overruled by people who wanted this war. Now, Larijani has resurfaced, not as a negotiator, but as a wartime voice. And his message is unambiguous. Receipt number 1, the Larijani rebuttal. The Wall Street Journal reported that the United States was engaged in discussions with Larijani. Donald Trump went further, publicly claiming these conversations were pretty productive. Larijani responded on social media with a statement that should be studied in every foreign policy classroom in the country. He said Trump plunged the region into chaos with his delusional fantasies and now fears more American troop casualties. He said Trump turned his self-made America First slogan into Israel First and sacrificed American soldiers for Israel's power-hungry ambitions. He said with new fabrications, Trump is once again imposing the cost of assassinating his own character on American soldiers and families. And he closed with this. The Iranian nation is defending itself. The armed forces of Iran did not initiate this aggression. That is not the language of a government in productive discussions. That is the language of a government that has decided the time for talking is over.
Okay, period. Period. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, Vince I Am says, I recently heard Iran actually honored Malcolm X. Rest in peace before Divided Snakes did. That says a lot. Well, absolutely. That is true. That is true, beloved. And since you brought it up, let's talk about it, because they honored Malcolm X in 1984 by issuing a postage stamp featuring him for the Universal Day of Struggle Against Racial Discrimination. Now, this act, mind you, which portrayed him as a symbol of resistance against oppression, occurred 15 years before the United States ordered him with a stamp in 1999. Iranian leadership has frequently cited him as a hero in the fight against imperialism. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. So let's continue. This is where they said, oh, you thought we were Venezuela? Please sit down somewhere because you got us effed up. And you're going to F around and find out. Let's get into it. Here we go. Hold on just a second.
Iranian security official has issued a stark warning to the United States following the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In an interview with Iran's Mehr news agency, Ali Larijani said U.S. President Donald Trump would have to pay a heavy price for the assassination, signaling that Tehran's retaliation is far from over. Larijani, who serves as secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, said Iran's military response will not be a one-time action. Speaking to Mehr News, he warned that Iranian attacks would continue and suggested that the confrontation with the United States and Israel could turn into a prolonged conflict. In the interview, Larijani accused Washington of deliberately trying to destabilize Iran through targeted assassinations of its leadership. He claimed the United States intended to create chaos inside the country, but instead triggered a wider regional confrontation. Larijani also insisted that Iran's military capabilities remain intact despite ongoing strikes. He said Iran's missile stockpiles and strategic weapons systems are fully operational, rejecting claims that the country's defense infrastructure has been significantly weakened. The Iranian official further claimed that U.S. planners underestimated Iran's ability to fight back. According to Larijani, Washington believed Iran would collapse quickly under military pressure, comparing the assumption to previous attempts at regime pressure in countries like Venezuela. His remarks come just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump launched a scathing attack on Tehran in a post on his social media platform Truth Social. Trump claimed Iran had effectively admitted defeat after President Masoud Pezeshkian apologized to neighboring countries for attacks carried out during the war. In the post, Trump wrote that Iran was being beaten to hell by relentless U.S. and Israeli strikes.
Do you all hear this? Donald Trump said, what? He said they're being beaten to hell. Listen to this. Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. This promise was only made because of the relentless U.S. and Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years. Do y'all hear this? First of all, who reported from thousands of years ago? He's so ridiculous. Anyway, it says to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, thank you, President Trump. I have said you're welcome. Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They're instead the loser of the Middle East and will be for many decades until they surrender or more likely completely collapse. Today, Iran will be hit very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior or areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Like, please sit down somewhere, honey. Absolutely crazy. Okay, and so that all being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and conclude this broadcast because I find it absolutely egregious. Don't y'all? Okay? I mean, it's just a lie. Shoshana said they talk too much. Trump surely does. He surely does. Hold on. Let's go to one more report just for kicks. Let's go to this report where they say Iran's $1 million missile splits into hundreds of warheads. Okay, we'll listen to just a few moments of this because this video is like 16 minutes. We'll listen to like 4 minutes of it. Then we're out.
A single missile launches from Iran, and American radar systems track it perfectly. calculating its trajectory, preparing interceptors, everything working exactly as designed. But then, at a specific altitude, something happens that changes everything. That one missile doesn't just fly toward its target, it breaks apart into dozens, maybe even hundreds of individual warheads, each one capable of destroying its own target, each one requiring its own interceptor to stop it. In the span of 3 seconds, what started as one defensive problem becomes 200 defensive problems. And the mathematical reality of that equation is something the Pentagon has been desperately trying to avoid talking about publicly. This isn't some theoretical future weapon or science fiction scenario. Iran has been developing cluster submunition missile technology that fundamentally breaks the economics of missile defense. And they've reached a point where $1 million Iranian missile could require $500 million worth of American interceptors to stop, if you can even get that many interceptors in the air fast enough, which you probably can't. Welcome back to War and Wealth. Before we dive into
Excuse me, let me just remind you all, don't promote channels in my chat unless I give you permission or unless it's a channel that I've already acknowledged and shouted out. Now let's continue.
why this technology essentially checkmates decades of American military planning, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now. This is the kind of military development that changes everything overnight, and you need to understand it before it shows up in tomorrow's headlines. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at missile defense the same way again. To understand why cluster submunition missiles are such a game changer, you first need to grasp how current missile defense systems actually work, because the entire architecture was built on assumptions that this technology completely shatters. When a traditional ballistic missile is launched, defense systems like Patriot, THAAD, or Aegis detect it using powerful radars that track its speed, trajectory, and probable impact point. The defensive system then calculates an intercept solution and launches one, or typically two, interceptor missiles to destroy the incoming threat before it reaches its target. This works reasonably well when you're dealing with single warhead missiles, even sophisticated ones. The interceptors are expensive, sure, around $4 million each for a Patriot PAC-3 interceptor. But if you're protecting a critical military base or city, that's considered an acceptable cost. The entire system is built on the assumption that each incoming missile is one target requiring one or two interceptors to defeat.
Okay, are y'all hearing this? And both of them, both the US and BB's people are running out of interceptors. Now I'm going to fast forward full speed ahead.
That Iran might share this technology with other adversaries, or that other nations' defenses simply cannot handle. This doesn't just affect military planning, it fundamentally undermines the deterrent effect of American forward presence in the region. NATO allies are watching these developments with growing alarm, recognizing that the same technology that threatens American bases in the Middle East could be used against European targets. The missile defense architecture that NATO has spent billions developing, particularly the Aegis Ashore systems in Romania and Poland, was designed primarily to counter Iranian ballistic missiles. If those missiles now carry cluster submunitions, the entire European missile defense strategy needs to be reconsidered. The possibility that Iran might share this technology with other adversaries, or that other nations might develop similar capabilities, independently adds another layer of concern for European security planners. The response options available to the United States are limited, and none of them are particularly attractive. Developing new defensive systems capable of handling cluster submunitions would require years of research and development, plus hundreds of billions in deployment costs, money that would have to come from other defense priorities. Increasing interceptor production sounds logical, but runs into industrial capacity constraints. The factories that produce these sophisticated missiles can't simply double or triple output overnight.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. Now, tomorrow morning when I return, Amara said Iran was waiting for those devils. Yes, they were. Absolutely. Now, tomorrow morning when I return, we'll be talking about some of the Epstein updates as well as what's going on with this war. Okay. So until then, I hope you all enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Hit him with that flavor all in my skin, God all in my blood.
Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got